40 years ago, we opened our doors with one mission in mind.
We'll be right back with the top 10 songs of 1983.
To sell quality American-made vehicles at a fair price.
You have arrived.
And we've loved every minute of the ride. Celebrating 40 years of Two Rivers Ford.
.601. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Nashville Predators have announced that David Poile, the only general manager in franchise history, will retire from that position and as president of hockey operations on June 30th. He will remain affiliated with the organization as an advisor. Meanwhile, Barry Trotz, the first and winningest coach in Predators history, will become the new GM on July 1st. He will take the reins just days after the NHL draft, which will be hosted at Bridgestone Arena on June 28th and 29th. The Preds have traded forward Tanner Jeannot to the Tampa Bay Lightning for their first-round selection in 2025, second-rounder in 24, and third, fourth, and fifth-round selections in this year's draft. They also acquired defenseman Cal Foote. Predators in action last night smoked the Coyotes 6-2. Roman Josi 2 goals and an assist. Women's hoops, Lady Vols cruised to an 83-63 win over Kentucky to wrap up the regular season. Tennessee finished with a 13-3 SEC record, and Belmont defeated Northern Iowa 83-75 on the men's side. With the win, Belmont secured the number 4 seed in its inaugural Missouri Valley Conference tournament appearance. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Monday morning and a new week underway. On our own, Kayla and Will, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. On today's show, Tennessee has a palate cleanser at home against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Nate Washington and Ben Arthur talk Titans as we head into NFL Combine Week. And the Preds make all of the changes, and for the first time in quite some time, fleece somebody on the trade market. Oh, and by the way, the Zone is the new home for Nashville Soccer Club. Welcome to Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. alongside 11-year NFL veteran and Vault for Life, Ramon Foster.
Yeah.
Our broadcast veteran journalist, whose J is always capitalized, Kayla Anderson. And the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer.
The best producer in the world.
My name is Will Bowling. A very good Monday morning to you.
Good morning, Will. Kayla. Shafe.
Why do you have a stupid smile on your face?
Why do you have a stupid...
I'm excited to
What
see
does
my
your
friends
sweatshirt
this
say?
morning. O-line masterminds.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Here we
I have
go.
a feeling
Dude,
Ramon's
anyway.
going to
Here
pull
we
something
go.
over on us today at some point.
Here we
No,
go.
I got nothing today. Today we got Preds, man. Come on.
You do?
Are you going to sit back and enjoy it, or
No,
are you going to
yeah.
chime in?
Yeah, we do. And I want to sit back, and I told you I'm a novice in this, so teach me up, man. I'm here for this. I enjoy the games.
Teach you up. I
Yeah,
love it.
teach me up.
Have you
man.
been to a Preds game?
Been to a few. Heck
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. I've been to a few Preds games.
No,
You
the
like
previous
it?
show went out there for a game.
I went out there and
Okay.
I went like 3-4 times before that with my family. So yeah, I'm into it. I just
Better
don't
in
know
person than on TV.
it. Way better in person, like baseball in a sense. Well, that depends on where you at.
It's a fire sale, and everyone's got to go in Bridgestone Arena. Does Ron Slay know that if he puts his belly on the glass, he might be eligible to be flipped for like a third-round pick?
I mean, right now anything goes, is it not? Absolutely, Will. We got to get him with his belly on the glass, man.
That's what Taylor was crazy when he went to Preds games. Chugging beers with his shirt off.
Just
Like, you got to make a scene or something if you go to a Preds game and you're an athlete.
was that Quentin Spain that drank beer
Oh, yeah.
out of the catfish? Oh,
Well, that
my
was Taylor.
God.
I
Quentin
thought
did
that
it
was
too,
Spain.
I think. Yeah, I think it was Spain.
Maybe it was both.
I think it
And
was
maybe it was
Probably
both.
was both.
multiple guys.
I'm
Quentin.
sorry, y'all. I'm not
Titans
that big
legend.
of a fan. I'm not that
Well-
big of a fan to drink beer out of
Of Quentin
fish.
Spain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Quentin's cool. I
I
actually,
actually like
Quentin.
Quentin. Yeah, I did too.
That guy's the worst.
People hated him. I actually really I liked
Well,
him.
because of the birds he was flipping Titans
I
fans
know.
after they
Well,
won a game that he had nothing to do
right.
with.
Okay,
The
let me
guy's terrible.
let me put you in his space though. He probably looked at it like he played well enough here for your team, for the
9
Tennessee
sacks.
Titans. You got to get where he's coming from. At
Ramon, I would love to see the way you would react after a game if you gave up 9 sacks.
Oh,
Like if
my
you were on an
God.
offensive line that gave up 9 sacks.
Oh man,
You would never individually
My
get
head would have been tucked, and I'd have been like, okay, on to the next one. Yeah, but he looked at the Titans like, man, y'all screwed me over. Like, and you know
Oh, that
how
seems-
guys
Never
get.
mind. I'm not going to go there.
Y'all do it.
Nope.
It's Hot Monday. Come on, Kayla. People getting retired and hired,
Retired?
and fans
Wow.
are mad. I mean, Poile.
Is that why you're smiling weird at us? You're just going to retire this morning?
Absolutely not. Man. Oh, this is where we're going today. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
Poile
here for it.
retired, quote unquote.
Retired.
I think
yeah.
he's a walking billboard trying to get hired over here. O-line mastermind. Like, is there any vacancies
Trust me.
for O-line coaches?
No, only go lineman I'm teaching up is my youngest. Period. Well, no, there's a few others out there I coach up, but I'm not going to combine training. This right here is Duke Manyweather, who does
Yeah, it's
that
actually
big
cool. I
camp
like that.
in Texas.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, a lot of, if you're O lineman coming out, you're going to one spot. That's to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a bunch of young guys are getting their technique from that
Nice.
are smart enough to go there. So,
Duke is him.
yeah, Duke is him when it comes down to it. Trey
Why wouldn't
is
you
there.
not go there?
That's what I'm saying. And you know what's so messed up about it is the combine is this is combine week 2 is built for guys for testing, running, jumping, and lifting.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of what you're gonna be doing is what they do in Texas. And like I love and hate the combine for offensive linemen. I think defensive linemen too, although their 40 times are more important than what an OL
Than an
is gonna
OL,
run.
yeah.
So I get why they need that.
615-737-1045, our number this morning. And coming up, Nate Washington from our previous conversation with him. Good stuff on the profile of wide receiver the Titans need moving forward. Nate does deny the claim that he could suit up for the Titans tomorrow. But we had to try.
We did.
We had to try. The Predators did make some wild moves yesterday. We'll talk about that. David Poile out. Barry Trotz in.
Yeah. Hello.
Don't know about that. Jayson Swain at 8:20 this morning. Ben Arthur at 9:20 talking Titans at NFL Combine. And Lucas Panciza at 9:45 this morning.
Hey man.
Look at that.
My cohort in Nashville Soccer Club.
Look
Hey,
at you
man.
guys. Big time in.
I know everybody at the station's got something going on. Look at these guys, man. They're big time. I feel like a buster out here with not doing
Well, you're a
anything on
dad.
TV. Yeah, okay.
So you've got plenty.
You're
of
working with
stuff
Titans
to
Radio
do.
on the draft.
There
Stop
you go.
it.
See,
Everybody's. You know what? I'm really hyped for everybody too. This week, can't say what happened this past week, but thanks to our fan base that checks into us, man. We holding it down. Just holding it down, y'all. I'm happy for us.
Thankful for the people that support
Yeah.
the show.
Yep, 100%.
But there are lots of things to cover today, and I'm looking forward, Kayla, to asking Ramon the yearly question about
Ooh.
the weirdest things that he had to talk about at the NFL Combine.
I know.
Yeah.
It is weird, isn't it? I've heard
It
so
is.
many bizarre stories.
5 too slow.
It is 5 too slow. Why did you get your coach fired? All those
5
types
too
of
slow.
things.
Why'd you get your coach
That's
fired?
what he was
Yeah.
Yeah, straight up, man. What? Maybe I should ask y'all. What do you think would be the wildest thing? We almost asked your dad that.
What,
That was your
about the-
combine this past
Oh,
week.
my combine?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have been a lot worse.
We
He wasn't
dropped the
going to
ball.
go into the high school stories because he tried to deny that with me.
Did he
Back
really?
when
Yeah.
Kayla belonged to the streets.
Exactly. I was like, Dad, you know what I was doing. No, I don't know. What are you talking about?
They always know.
Whatever, Dad. I was grounded every weekend. What do you think?
When you were telling him about when he was telling us about partying at college
Oh,
with you,
at
I was
Washington
like,
State.
It's fantastic.
Dad's weekend. That was epic.
That is
Every year.
awesome right there. Had no idea you were kicking in the dough Friday either.
Yeah, I kicked in the door, literally.
I was like, man, who is this? Well, we got to start locking the door on the studio,
I know.
man.
I don't
I'll
even
find
know.
a way.
Does the store lock? Yeah, it does.
I'd
Just
find a way.
Her and Shafe just out here, man. Yeah, the door does lock.
Me? What
Yeah.
are you talking
Where-
about?
where did she-
Plotting. He's allowed
What?
Ron Slay in here numerous times. When
Oh,
we
because I
didn't
told
know.
Shafe?
Yeah.
Oh, that I
Kevin?
allowed her in? Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did.
Definitely. Did your dad get his bags, though?
Oh, God, finally.
Finally?
But it took a long time. I mean, it took till the next day, midday.
Do they bring
day
them
we
to
were here.
your house, or do you
No,
got to go to the airport?
They
You gotta
do
go get 'em.
supposedly, but they don't even open till 1:30. I'm like, we're not messing around with that.
They don't
Like,
even
we're
open
just
till
gonna-
1:30?
Yeah,
It's
we're
not
going to
great.
get the bag.
That sucks, man.
It's-
God,
and then
I
the
hate
door
that.
was locked.
What door?
The door to the bag. He goes, I could see my bag, but the door was locked.
Oh, no.
So he had to go chase down some security dude to open up the door. He said
Yes.
they opened at 10 a.m. Get your stuff straight, airlines. Get it straight. We pay enough money.
Tell
We
them,
sacrifice enough.
Tell 'em.
Get your straight,
Tell them.
airlines.
It's not going to fly.
Get it straight.
It's not going to fly
Pun
anymore.
intended right there.
That's right.
I know.
Very much
I've-
intended.
Get it
Tell 'em.
straight.
6'11".
How we going to be at international airport, Kayla, out here locking doors like this, man?
It was 15.
Most adults I know up by 7 o'clock. Door should have been open way before then.
The
Kayla.
airport's busiest hours are from 5 a.m. to like 10 a.m.
I haven't been there since the new
It's actually nice.
changes have been made.
Nice. It's
I
really
was
nice.
flying
Yeah.
home the day before the new security checkpoint opened.
Were you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's very nice, but it's open. So it's weird because you're not used to it being that big. It's almost overwhelming a little bit.
Yeah,
Because you're like, whoa, am I in Atlanta?
Yeah, it's not your old school B&A anymore. Nah, and I'm with you. I actually like it too. By the way, the valet parking too. If you just going in and out.
I'm not that high class.
I knew he was gonna go there, but it is official though, Will.
Because I've heard Brent talk about this all the time. Like, that's the best part of going to the airport. It's like, what? Okay. Like, I've never
It's the
never
best.
known that was even a thing.
It may have been him and Ron that
Yeah,
convinced
it
me
was.
to do it.
It was.
Yeah, Kayla, game changer.
Yeah, I've heard it is.
game
Nothing
changer.
about going to the airport is fun. Let's
I
be
love it.
honest.
I love it so much.
TSA
Are
pre-check.
you psycho?
Yeah.
Y'all got pre-check?
I got pre-check.
I do not. I've got clear, though.
You got clear?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got to get clear in there. I heard clear is a whole lot better at LAX though.
Oh, it's awesome there. It's awesome in Vegas.
Yeah.
You feel a lot more high class than you really are in my shoes because they take you behind a rope and they escort you to the front of security after you do
the-
your fingerprint. Yeah.
Straight up.
But here's the thing. If you're paying for something like Clear, then wherever it is, it needs to be good.
That's true.
It's terrible in Atlanta.
you get what I'm saying,
It is
though?
god awful in Atlanta.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of things are not good
Oh,
in
I
terms
went
of that
through
airport.
pre-check in Atlanta. Let me tell y'all, it was just like being in a
Yeah.
regular
It's just
line.
regular.
It was regular degular
Doesn't
out
matter.
This girl, like, in the middle of, like, taking me up to the security was like, man, I think I'm going to quit. And, like, looks at her coworker and is like,
Fun.
yeah, I'm quitting today. Like dead serious. And I was just like, could you quit in like 5 minutes?
Yeah, I got to get through.
Can I?
Thanks.
Can I board my flight, please, before you quit? Thanks.
I wonder what the epiphany was.
615-737-1045, the number. Coming up next, NFL Combine Week beginning, and we chat with former Titans wide receiver Nate Washington and begin a discussion that we're going to have later on in the week and later on today. Expectations for Treylon Burks. And how much of a need do you have in this draft to find either a number 1 or a number 2 wide receiver? Nate Washington adds his thoughts on the other side as the Monday edition gets started on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 104.5 The Zone. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. Busy show today. We're going to cover sports on ice, on grass, in underwear at the NFL Combine.
Whoa.
Excuse me?
I was like, where is he going with that?
615-737-1045, our number.
Excuse me?
Preds making some crazy moves. Jayson Swain, Ben Arthur, Lucas Panciza on this morning's show. But first, we go to former Titans wide receiver Nate Washington and a good conversation with him on the future of the Titans offense and where this team goes next and the pressure that's on Treylon Burks. Because, guys, we talk a lot about the additions this team needs to make. There are only a couple guys on this offense that are going to be starters next year who were starters this year, starting with your number one wide receiver.
100%, Will. Big, and he said this, and I think of this conversation, you don't want him having a sophomore slump.
No, you do not.
That could be a real thing because there's so much pressure to be so much better in year two that he's got to get surrounded big time.
My big thing is how much did he put in the offseason? How much does he put in the offseason? And how available can he be?
Yes.
Because he needs to be available.
Yeah.
So here it is, our conversation with former Titans wide receiver Nate Washington. All right, Nate. Well, now that the Titans are once again officially in the market for wide receiver help, I can ask you the same question that I can ask Ramon. Like, do you have any interest in playing for the Titans, considering how many needs they have this offseason?
Dude, the way they passing out that money, I might have to give me some glue and put some things back together. Really, I don't have no interest, but they're definitely going to have to address that room. You know, the way I look at that room right now is you obviously still have a major potential and whatever Treylon's going to grow into, but he still has to grow into that person. He still has to grow into that type of player. And, you know, with all due respect, I don't know him personally. I don't know anything about, you know, what he has going on this offseason, what he's doing to, you know, progress his game. But in the same sense, he's going to definitely have to be a reliable, consistent asset for that offense next year. He's not going to be able to be in and out. You know, I understand that he dealt with a lot of injuries this past year, but those things aren't an option next year, you know, because of so many things. Letting AJ go, drafting him, being in the position that they're in now, you know, and in all honesty, you know, I'm going to have to see him be a number one receiver because right now, you know, taking the shots that they take with him, using him the way that they've used him in this offense, I just see him being a solid number two. And at this point, you know, looking through that free agency class of receivers, there's a lot of quality guys out there. But honestly, I don't see a number one receiver. So, you know, they're definitely going to have to put some things together in that room to make sure that those guys are reliable and consistent in the pass game and help this run game out and progress this whole entire Titans offense that we've known over the past 3-4 years since they've gotten Derrick Henry.
Man, pretty much since, you know, he's going to be one of the most experienced guys in that wide receiver room as far as Treylon Burks go. The conversation is, you need to bring a vet. You got to have somebody got him. Somebody needs to be over him. You know, how important or unimportant is it, Nate, to have an old head in front of you to kind of guide you? Will that, you know, prohibit his growth if Treylon Burks doesn't have a guy in front of him helping him?
No, not by any means. You know, I'm pretty sure that coaching staff is pretty much prepared to do whatever they have to do to put him in position to, you know, be prepared for his new role and being a number one receiver. Now, I'll say this is where the veteran leadership comes, as you know, comes into play. You know, at those times where that veteran in that room may see him put his head down. You know, he may take him to dinner every now and again. They may link up after practice and instill some confidence in him with, you know, some of the stories that he may have been through. But at the same time, you know, at the end of the day, Mon, as you know, you're going to have to go play the game for yourself. You're going to have to still go out there, strap it up, make sure that you're prepared to play and make the plays that you know you can make to make your team be better. And at the end of the day, you know, it's not really comes down to being a veteran in that room. You know, like I said, I actually went through and looked at a bunch of the guys. Nelson Aguilar is on there. Jacoby Myers is on there now, veteran. Jarvis Landry is back in the pool. And, you know, you can look at all of those names and those assets that you can have. And, yeah, you might have some reliable targets, but when you're talking about, you know, someone grooming someone into becoming a star, becoming a number one receiver, you know, becoming that face in that room, you know, I don't really see that guy in that free agency pool. So at that point, you have to come back to this season, looking at Coach Rob Moore and understanding that this is going to be his project to make sure it's polished coming into next year. Traylon has the tools, he has the size, he has the speed. We've seen him do well catching the ball with his hands down the field, making plays, and those type of things. It's just going to be a confidence thing. You know, this is definitely going to have to take him coming into this next year and understanding that this role has to be his to seize. And as much as a veteran wide receiver could, you know, probably give him a little bit more confidence. It's not a make or break thing. It's a, you know, will of his own that's going to have to be there to understand the position that he was in last year. Now that he's got his feet wet, understands hopefully better how to take care of his body, because, I mean, essentially that was the huge problem with him last year. It wasn't necessarily him making plays. It was him being on the field, you know, and as they always say, Mo, like, you know, you can't make the club in the tub. So he's definitely going to have to be reliable on that field to go out and make sure that he's in the suit and performing on Sundays and there with his teammates. And if we can do that, then maybe we'll see where we can go from there.
Man, I accept the fact that when a guy becomes a number one receiver, you kind of lose the human aspect of him a little bit, Nate.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, Traylon probably has to change his attitude. You play the position. So can you explain to people why when you get WR1, everything kind of changes for you?
As you stated, it's a mindset. You know, I played for 11 years, and I think I was a pretty good, reliable guy. But, you know, even me, myself, I'll speak about me, myself. You know, I never could take myself into that mindset. A number one receiver, when you look at A.J. Brown, you know what he's coming to the field. When you look at DK Metcalf, they have a certain type of attitude. And it's not – sometimes it can cross over into an arrogance, but it's not all about an arrogance. It's a certain type of confidence that you know that it's 3rd and 6. I don't care anything about the play. You know, I played with DeAndre Hopkins. He didn't care anything about the play. You know, sometimes I'm going to be honest with you. I will bust my tail to run some of the best routes that I can possibly run, only to get in the film session on Monday and see him kind of just come off the line, kind of lackadaisical, knowing that, like, I don't care what this route is. I don't care who's guarding me. All I need you to do is put the ball in the area, and we're going to get a first down. That's the confidence and the arrogance of a wide receiver number one. And a lot of times, you know, when you get a guy, for instance, like myself, it took Coach Bill O'Brien to tell me, like, hey, you have an amazing talent. I don't need you running the play strictly off of what you see on paper, Nate. You know, sometimes if you have a 16-yard route and you're open at 12, take it, because I know that you know what you're doing. So be confident in that. And it took that, you know, it took that type of dialogue from someone else to have that with me. But when you got guys in there that step in and understand that they're wide receiver number one, understand that they're going to move these sticks, they're going to put points on the board, you don't have to have those conversations with those guys. They come out, they're prepared, they're ready to go mentally, emotionally, and physically, and they're going to give you everything that other guys in that locker room just can't give you.
You have to look beyond Traylon Burks, though, Nate. And when you look at that wide receiver room right now, I'm sorry, but it's not impressive. And look, I like the effort that NWI has put in, and he has made the most of his opportunities. But that's a difficult situation, because you look at this year's draft when it comes to wide receivers, I don't think it's great. And then you look at the free agency market, like you had just mentioned, it's not great. What do they do to build depth at that position, Nate?
I think it's going to take them, because I completely agree with you, Kayla. I mean, you look at the wrong room, you have some great character guys. You know, NWI and those people, you know, they're great character guys. But when you talking about talent, as far as the fans may view it, as far as, you know, former players like myself, you guys as, you know, being reporters of the team, and those, you can honestly look at that room and you have to be honest that the talent itself is just not there. So, you know, as you stated, looking at the free agency pool, and we've already established that, you know, I've already been thinking about some things. The only thing that I could consider is them putting together a type of roster in that room that kind of complements each other. Go out, maybe make a push at a Mikael Hardman that can bring you some speed, bring you some different type of abilities with those type of things. If you already have Traylon as a bigger guy, he can work both inside and out. You know, he can make your possession catches and those type of things. But you also are going to need a shifty guy that can probably get open and beat zone coverage and understand those type of things. So, you know, maybe you'll make a push for Jacoby Myers that understands offenses coming from Bill Belichick offense. He's not going to give you the best physical tools. He's not going to be your fastest, jump your highest, but he's going to be a reliable guy and knowing timing, knowing how to get in and out his routes, knowing how to get open, create separation, because we've seen him do those things. Now, he's not a guy that we're expecting to go to the Pro Bowl, but when you put all of those guys together and mix that pot, you know, something can spark out of creating an opportunity in the passing game that will definitely, complement this run game that's been so dominant.
Yeah, and I believe NWI is a free agent actually too. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So let's talk about the O-line, just because I want to get your opinion. It's been an interesting year last year when it comes to just guys getting hurt and guys having to step up. You still had Dylan Radins that hasn't really lived up to the second round pick. So if they're going to go get a guy in the first round, do you go O-line first and at least take care of that? And how do you plan to build that? Because we talked about this yesterday on the show. It seems like they also need a vet on the line too, and we think maybe Ben Jones will be done after, the next couple of weeks. Maybe we'll be hearing something about that.
I think Mona will be proud of me in this regard. It took a long time for me to understand, but, you can't get nothing done without being up front solid.
Oh, gosh. You just added the ego to it's growing right now.
It ain't even me instigating now.
I know.
It's very true, though. We go out there and you will go find the best playmakers in the world, great quarterback and all those things. But it starts up front. It's on both sides of the ball. It starts up front. And we've seen – honestly, the last 2 years, the offensive line just has not been solid. Once again, with all due respect to even Ryan Tannehill and what he's brought to this team and the advances that he's made in this past game, to be honest with you, he's just not that guy that you can't go into a season without a solid offensive line with. He's not as straight line speed that he has to get down the field and break the pocket and maybe, gain you some nice yards. He's not very shifty, and he's not very quick in short spaces. So with that being said, he's going to need an offensive line that can secure him up front to give him an opportunity to make some plays. The run game itself, as we've seen it's beginning to dwindle. Mm-hmm. We're going to start to need to find not only, I'm very in tune with the off tackle of the gut plays, but, I'm much better for us. I think it would be zone running in the position that we have up front, because it allows these offensive linemen to get these defensive linemen running. When you get them running sideways, like Mo knows, it's a lot better than trying to push that body straight down the middle and create, opportunity for your running back to run. So there's a lot of things that they're going to have to do up front, but definitely, first round draft pick is definitely going to have to find an offensive lineman. They're definitely going to have to find some veteran leadership that also come in and help via free agency. Hopefully they don't spend an arm and a leg on a guy, but you're going to have to find a guy that's consistent, reliable, durable. As you stated, the offensive line injuries these last couple of years have just been dismal. And once your offensive line stars are starting to drop, you're not going to get much out of the pass game. You're not going to get much out of the run game. Ryan Tannehill is not going to look like he's looked previously. These things are going to trickle downhill, and that's, in my opinion, that has to be top of their list this offseason, addressing their offensive line and understanding what they're going to do moving forward with it.
Former Titan Nate Washington with us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. So, Nate, what is a reasonable expectation for Ryan Tannehill? With all these new pieces around him, what would make this a successful season for him? Or are you going somewhere else at the quarterback position now with the position the Titans are in?
Well, I honestly think they're stuck there. I think they're stuck there because they have so many major issues that they're going to have to address. Offensive line, defensive line, holes on a couple places on the defense. That secondary is definitely going to need some help. There's a lot of things that you have to address, and Ryan is good enough to sustain. A good season for me from him would look like, honestly, just taking care of the ball. Because there's going to be opportunities and situations there where you may not have anybody open. You may not have that guy that you fall in love with week by week 10 that you know you can break a play down and he's always going to be reliable and open for. You may not have that out of this group of guys. If we so fall into that, then great. That's exactly what we need. But looking at the roster, you may not have that opportunity. So of it all, the last thing I need you to do is play superhero and begin to start making plays that are not among you and start turning the ball over. I think that showed in the playoffs a couple years ago, the Cincinnati game. I think if he would have just played his game, if he would have just did what he normally does, but, being in that situation where you have such a dominant back in Henry and looking at the rest of the roster, as much as we can sit here and talk about it, as much as they realize it in the locker room, there's 31 of the teams that realize it as well. And, coming into those games, it puts a lot of pressure on one guy to try to make amends for knowing that the other teams are going to be attacking this run game. So if he plays with them himself, I just need him to take care of the ball. If he takes care of the ball, it gives us an opportunity. That's all we can do from there. And I think that's our best bet is to take that opportunity and continue to grow from it. It's going to be a young roster either way. Your biggest stars right now are Traylon Burks and, Chig is definitely going to be a reliable source. But other than that, there's going to be some growing pains on that offense that he's going to have to maintain by controlling the ball and making sure he does not turn it over.
There's former Titans wide receiver Nate Washington on Traylon Burks and on expectations for Ryan Tannehill with a totally new offense around him. Going to be interesting to see what the Titans are looking at this weekend, or this week, I should say, at the wide receiver position. And when we come back, that's the question I want to ask you guys. What is your working opinion on what Traylon Burks can be in this offense going into his second season? Do the Titans still need a number one wide receiver? That's next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster and Kayla here to tell you about Old School Vapor. Kayla, as a former professional athlete, I have aches and pains I deal with every day. But now I found Old School Vapor, and they're hands down the most knowledgeable when it comes to helping me get relief.
You're absolutely right, Ramon. And here's what I love about it. It's such a friendly atmosphere. As soon as you walk in there, someone to greet you, someone to guide you in the right direction. Best part about it, though, if you're a pet owner, this is the place to be because they have so many choices for your fur babies. Maybe they have separation anxiety. Maybe they have travel issues. You need them to just be a little bit calmer. You can go shop Old School Vapor's selection of over 200 legal CBD products from brands like Looper, Torch, Hidden Hills, and much more.
And do you use F-Bars? Old School Vapor has over 100 authentic flavors for only $18.99 each. And check out their other sales like buy one, get one free for select Esco bars, 25% off glass pipes, and 50% off smell-proof bags.
All right. Now, if you're trying to find where they are, I had to take a sip of my coffee because they're easy to find. I was actually Googling right now. You can go Google them, or you can just look them up on Instagram to find your nearest location.
They have 4 of them, Kayla, by the way, as you sip your coffee. Franklin, both ends of Spring Hill, Columbia, and I promise you there's more to come. That's Old School Vapor. And listen up, this product contains nicotine, which is an addictive chemical. You must be 21 years or older to purchase, and no sales to minors.
Monday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors right here on 104.5 The Zone. Good conversation with former Titan Nate Washington telling us Traylon has all the tools, the size, and the speed. We've seen him catch the ball down the field. It is a confidence thing. This role is his to seize. I'll ask you guys, is Traylon Burks a number one wide receiver in your eyes for the long-term future of the Tennessee Titans?
He can be, Will. He can be. Now, this is his thing. If he doesn't stay healthy, if he doesn't make the proper steps this year, despite whatever the offense is looking like, then that's when it becomes questionable because what you're going to say then, we need another guy. And then the new guy's going to come in probably as a high draft pick and become the number one. Like, he really does have to establish himself this year, in my personal opinion, of being the number one.
In my opinion, when, again, you trade up because you ship A.J. Brown out to get Traylon Burks, to me, like, that was the hint that that's going to be their number one guy. And I don't know if that was really expected last year because he was a rookie and then he went through all those issues before training camp really even started with the asthma and rookie camp and so on and so forth. And then, the injuries a couple times throughout the season. But the thing that was encouraging about him was the bounce back.
Yeah.
Especially after the turf toe. I think that showed me a lot about Traylon Burks as a work ethic type of guy. Like, he went in there and really, really worked hard to get ready to come back. And he did come back, and he was good. You could see, like, all the potential that Traylon Burks had. You could see the big playmaking abilities that he has. But again, it all comes back to availability for me. And he can be that number one guy next year, but he has to be healthy and he has to be out there. And that starts in training camp.
My question is, especially hearing Nate kind of talk about it, is what's the criteria for number one? I think that's our biggest thing that we got to look up.
Playmaking ability.
Ball comes your way more times than not. You're catching it.
Dependable.
Being there.
I think if you're a number one wide receiver, there's no doubt that you are that guy.
There's no doubt.
And that's where I'm at with this.
Okay.
But right now, there is no one.
Yeah.
So is that by default right now?
It's by default right now for sure. But
okay.
I think Traylon Burks is T. Higgins. I think he's a 1B.
I was going to say then, that ain't a 1-1 then.
I think at his best, I think Traylon Burks is T. Higgins. T. Higgins, who was selected around a similar spot in the NFL draft when he came in out of Clemson. I think Traylon Burks will be at his best when he has a secondary option around him that may get 100 or 200 more yards, but ultimately is going to get Traylon closer to his ceiling.
Yeah. That's the question that I was going to say, too, as far as, like, what's the expectation for a guy like Traylon, who's a bigger wide receiver? Corners may be able to lock him up because they may be quicker than him. So, like, for him, is 880 yards a year? Is that where we expect him, or is he like a 1,300, 1,400-yard guy?
I don't think he is.
Not a 1,300, 1,400 guy.
I don't know. The jury's still out for me just because I've seen, like, potential in terms of, like, some of the plays he's made have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, he's a strong dude. However, I do wonder, there's other guys out there that could be speedier, that they could go to more. But when is that going to happen? Because I don't really see that happening this year because the free agent list, they're all older. I mean, they could technically be your number one, but they're not going to be around for that long. And then do you draft a guy that could, you're not going to draft them early in this draft.
Not this one. No.
Because you need O-linemen, right?
If
there's not as many good wide receivers in this draft class.
And that's why I was going to go. If one slipped and they were the best available, would you be mad at this team for going to get a wide receiver still? I know the OL need it.
Lord, you probably should draft 2 or 3.
Best wide, if they're best available. Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. If that's the case and you're picking one at 11 that's best available, Traylon might be 1B, 1A, 1B, splitting it.
And Traylon's a good receiver. I think Traylon can be a 1,000-yard receiver in his career. I think he probably will be.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I just think when you have the conversation about is someone not a number one wide receiver, if there's any level of doubt in your head, then they're not a number one.
Yeah.
And I know that there is a lot stacked up against receivers that played for the Tennessee Titans this past year, starting with the left tackle as soon as Taylor Lewan got hurt. But ultimately, even when A.J. Brown was coming off of injury with limited training camp reps in his rookie season, he took over that game against Atlanta where we said, oh, he's him.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Did we think when they drafted him, though,
No,
that AJ was going to be that dude, number one?
of course not.
Yeah, I don't think so. But this day, I think AJ's class is probably one of the first ones you start to look at second-round wide receivers. You know, in that era of like, oh, we can get a guy in the second and still be a number one, be that good. And they've had a few of those guys come out as of late.
Yeah, and
You know?
DK in his class was
Yeah.
up in Seattle.
Yep.
And Debo Samuel was second
Yeah.
round as well.
Yep. Deontay Johnson's, I think, that same class. If I'm not mistaken, he may be a third rounder.
Yeah,
And-
he's a little bit later.
Yeah. And he's George Pickens has come in as a second round in Pittsburgh and kind of uprooted him as a number one.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other question the Titans are going to have to answer is if you're getting a number one, does that guy need to be in the slot? Do you get a Jalen Hyatt who has just raw speed out of the slot that you can't really teach? How does that complement Traylon Burks? Where does Kyle Phillips fit into all of this?
I think that if you get a speed guy like that, I think that highlights Traylon Burks more than anything because a guy like Jalen Hyatt can't do, in my opinion, what Traylon's capable of doing too at times.
And neither of them can do what Kyle Phillips can do and be the underneath technician.
Yeah, if he stays healthy too,
Man.
He did say when I talked to him before we left for the off season, he said, "I'm doing a lot to get myself right in this off season. Like he hired a trainer, he's staying here,
okay,
because he's engaged recently. So him and his wife are here, or to be wife soon. So it looks like he's doing everything he can do to try to find out the solutions to this because nobody was more frustrated than him, you guys. Like he just wanted to be out there. Yeah, that's all he wanted to do. So he's doing everything he can this offseason to find that. So we'll see if that happens.
Coming up next, talk a little bit of hockey. Major moves yesterday for the Nashville Predators, letting go of the first general manager in team history and hiring the first head coach in team history to replace him. Some crazy moves, and we'll get Kayla's thoughts on exactly what the Predators do next and if this move makes sense. David Poile out, Barry Trotz in. We discuss next on 104.5 The Zone.
Spring will be here before you know it. Hey, it's Schaefer. Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply is ready with all the fertilizers, seeds, pre-emergents, and herbicides needed to get your property ready for the year. They offer professional advice and know how to DIY your lawn and landscape care. Whether you're trimming bushes, cutting grass, or just trying to keep weeds and insects out of your lawn and landscape, they've got it all. Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply, also your source for Kawasaki parts and service with Kawasaki engine parts, lubricants, and service, and certified Kawasaki techs at each location. Get your lawn equipment serviced or repaired with Kawasaki. Beat the spring service rush. Get your equipment taken care of now, courtesy of Diggins Turf and Landscape Supply. Here's your Middle Tennessee locations: Nashville, Cool Springs, Bellevue, Murfreesboro, Brentwood, Mower, Hendersonville, Mount Juliet, and Franklin. If you can't stop by one of their locations, check them out online. DickensSupply.com. From the Superbook.com sports desk, I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Good morning. It's 7:01. The Nashville Predators have announced that David Poile, the only general manager in franchise history, will retire from that position and as president of hockey operations on June 30th. He will remain affiliated with the organization as an advisor. Meanwhile, Barry Trotz, the first and winningest coach in Predators history, will become the new general manager on July 1st. He will take the reins officially just days after the NHL draft, which will be hosted at Bridgestone Arena on June 28th and 29th. The Preds have traded forward Tanner Jeannot to the Tampa Bay Lightning for their first-round selection in 2025, second-round selection in 2024, and third, fourth, and fifth-round selections in this year's draft. They also acquired defenseman Cal Foote. To the NHL, on the ice at least, the Preds defeated the Coyotes last night 6-2. Roman Josi, 2 goals and an assist for the Preds. Women's hoops, Lady Vols cruised to an 83-63 win over Kentucky to wrap up the regular season. Tennessee finished with a 13-3 SEC record and the number 3 seed heading into the SEC tournament. To the men's side, Belmont defeated Northern Iowa 83-75. With the win, Belmont secured the number 4 seed in its inaugural Missouri Valley Conference tournament appearance. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5. The Zone.
NFL Combine Week begins. Tennessee basketball heads into the final week of the season, and the Nashville Predators make some major changes. Talking hockey and talking Preds coming up right now in hour number 2. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Alongside Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Jonathan Schaefer, our producer.
The best producer in the world.
I'm Will Bowler.
Craig. The world.
Of the world. 615-737-1045 is the number. And for the first time since they became a hockey team, the Nashville Predators will have a new general manager.
Wow. This is something that is going to be a big change, because when you have one guy, your entire, how many years have they been here? Since
July 9th, 1997.
Okay,
month,
so then,
by the way, July of 97.
late 90s. God, it's been that long, hasn't it? So David Poile has not only been that GM for the whole entire time, but he's been a successful GM.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's a lot of people, a lot of fans that thought this was long overdue. And I'm saying maybe in the last 3 years, a lot of them saying, we need to kind of revamp. We need to go in different directions in terms of a GM. But this guy, he's been loyal. They've been loyal to him, and he's done a lot of great things. I mean, look at all the playoffs that they've made it to.
Yeah.
Look at the run in 2017. Some of the big names that he's brought here.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was fascinating. A guy who's been in professional hockey more than 50 years, but was also with the Capitals before coming to the Nashville Predators. He's the only general manager in NHL history to lead 2 different clubs for over 1,000 games and 500 victories. He's done a lot for this franchise, and I think fans will, in the end, appreciate that, but it was time. It was time.
How does a guy like him in any sport, the longest active GM I can think of, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, is Bill Belichick. Like as a player, as a coach GM with the Patriots, how does he last this long at an organization like this in professional sports where you didn't get the ring? It's the Stanley Cup in a sense. You went for it, didn't get it, but you've been above board and everything else. Like in this sport in professional sports of microwave results, like you don't get this long of a tenure usually. So how did he pull this off for this long?
Well, I'll say my opinion, then Will, you can chime in on yours. Just covering this team for the past 6 seasons, I came right after the 2017 run.
Yeah.
First of all, that put the Preds on a different level.
Okay.
Getting to that 2017, run in the Stanley Cup where they went all the way to the finals, like that was big. It put them on a whole another level in terms of the NHL and a national presence. And look at some of the guys that were on that team. I mean, PK Subban, some of the bigger name guys. And then what happened is I think, the bar was set so high at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And the couple years after that, still a good team. I mean, we went with them to the playoffs, a couple years in a row where they made it to the second round. But then it just kind of stopped. Yeah. And I think the big thing about Poile is he wanted to keep the core together. He wanted to keep those core players together. And I think people believed it could happen again. Yeah. And he brought in Matt Duchene and was like, okay, let's keep majority of the core and maybe bring in a couple big name guys. But it just never happened. And I think they were waiting for it to happen. And it just never did. And so it was almost like maybe you hung on just a little too long, but they still believed it could happen because you had that core.
Yeah.
For me, it's I think this team had a lot of grace at the beginning of its time as a team because casual NHL fans or just sports fans in general will recognize how quickly Las Vegas and really in a way Seattle has been able to compete right away. Obviously, Vegas more so than Seattle did right away. But the expansion rules were a lot different back then, is where I'm going with this.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that the expansion draft rules were drastically different between Nashville's time and Las Vegas and Seattle's time.
It made it infinitely harder for an organization to enter the league right away and win right away. So this organization and this team had a lot of a grace period, about 10 years, I would say, Shay, of a learning curve for this organization and ramping things up. I mean, it legitimately took them when they were, the 2 seed and lost to San Jose in the first round. We're talking 2007, 2008 at that point.
Yeah, I think what you had, because I moved into town in 2004 and then I started covering the team basically on a day-by-day basis from 2005 to 2008. So that was my period of time when I was following them. Look, on a Tuesday night, San Jose was coming to town. You didn't have a lot of people in that barn. It just wasn't happening. And it was a team that slowly progressed, got to a point that it got into the playoffs and then could get into the playoffs consistently, but then couldn't get past the first round. And I remember how big of a deal it was when they got into the second round.
Oh, yeah.
They would run up against the Detroit Red Wings, who were such a huge rival at that period of time. And now it's more of the Chicago Blackhawks have kind of taken over Detroit as a large rival. And part of it's because Chicago was able to win 3 cups there in a 6-year period.
Right.
They had a lot of grace. They had a lot of time. They were able to fly under the radar. And then you had the Steve Sullivan era, and you had them scoring a lot of goals there for a couple of years. The biggest moves that really changed a lot of things for this organization were Peter Forsberg and Paul Kariya. Now, Forsberg, unfortunately, brought him in and it didn't work out, and he only stayed through the end of that season. But Paul Kariya coming to town, I remember attending that press conference. It was a big deal.
Sure was.
Because that's when it went from the Predators being just an NHL, backwater post, really, to getting people's attention not only in the U.S. but also in Canada. And then they got to the point where, again, you look at the year where they went to the Cup final, and it's funny to look at this now. That team, it took until about the last week of the season to get into the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a team that had been struggling throughout the season. Then all of a sudden they go up to Chicago against Chicago in that first round and just blow them away.
Unbelievable.
And I think that Predators team, in hindsight, got hot at the right time more than they were actually a Cup quality team. Now, you go to that Cup final. If a couple breaks go the other way and go the Predators' way, there may be a Stanley Cup banner in that arena in which things would have changed forever, would have changed everything.
Well, hockey's a different type of sport, too, in terms of it's one of those sports where I think if you have a GM and they are doing good things for your organization, and it might take time because it was different back then. They allowed a little bit more grace. And David Poile's a guy who knows hockey. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, it's like
family,
he's
right?
Yeah, I mean, he was with the Washington Capitals before getting here. I mean, you're going to give people time at that GM position, especially in hockey, I feel like, because it's just a whole nother type of sport. I mean, just the way that they bring these kids up. They develop in the minors for a long time sometimes, and sometimes they come up right away. It's kind of a crapshoot, just like any sport. But I feel like hockey's a little bit different. And in the postseason's different too, guys. These teams can get hot, like Shafe said, at the most random times. I mean, St. Louis a couple years ago, they fired their head coach. Yep. They were an awful team, and they went on to win it all.
Wow.
Well, Ramon, to go back to your question, how does a GM stay in that spot for that long of a period of time? Number one is David Poile, one of the best to do it.
Okay.
The black mark against his record is that, yes, won a lot, won steadily, but didn't win big. Mm-hmm. Never won a cup. Never won a cup between the Capitals and the Predators. Only made it to a conference final twice and a Stanley Cup final once, and he made a conference final once with each team. So that is demerit, if you will, against his record. But I think with David Poile is just the class, the professionalism, the way he handled his business, the respect he had, not just amongst the NHL, but just the entire hockey community in North America. And he was always the one guiding light, the beacon between the ownership changes that took place in this town. And you had several ownership changes in terms of, you go to Leopold, and then the local consortium owns it, and Freeman's the head of it. Then he's out, and then you have new people coming in, and now Haslam's going to be taking over the team. David Poile was the constant. He was the heartbeat throughout all the changes from the beginning, through the ownership changes, through the most contending years, the Stanley Cup year. And he went for it. I mean, look, he did go for it. It's just the players that he acquired didn't live up to his expectation, and or they didn't judge those players correctly.
Yeah.
They kept the band together a little bit too long.
That's what I said.
And
they had the core.
But I'm saying, I think the 2017 run almost hurt them long term because it gave them the proof of concept that you can always be the last team in and get hot at the right time, when that was kind of a flash in the pan. That became the exception. Well, I think what we thought was the opening of a window, we look back, that was more the outlier than it was the norm.
I'll add this, is that I think they expected Ryan Johansson and Matt Duchene to come in and be players to ascend to a level that they ultimately could not get to. And I think they misjudged those two players maybe more than anybody else, that these are the guys who are going to come in and they're going to go with Forsberg and Roman, and at that time Pekka, now UC. These are going to be the guys that are going to lead us to that championship run. And I think they either misjudged them, or those guys underperformed, or I think it's actually a case of both.
Wow.
Coming up, we'll take a look at the big move the Preds made yesterday, and take a look at Barry Trotz, a name that many in this city know, a city that is certainly very near and dear to one of the best guys, one of the best coaches in hockey, and in his heart, as he said yesterday in this release. We dive into what's next for them, plus the breaking news of the NFL this morning on what may be next for the number one overall pick. Coming up on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, it's Will Bowling for my friends at Lee Company. We all know it takes a team to keep a facility running smoothly. Your customers rely on you to have your HVAC, your plumbing, and electrical systems in top shape. Well, Lee Company offers complete facility solutions, from assisting staff to handling all management and maintenance for all your needs. Our friends at Lee Company partner with you to analyze operations, provide actionable data, and handle repairs as well. Lee Company is ready to help where and when you need them for your facility 24/7. You can visit them online at leecompany.com and click My Facility to learn more. Lee Company is all you need, whether it's HVAC, plumbing, keeping those electrical systems in top shape. Go online to leecompany.com and click My Facility to learn more about how they can help you. That's Lee Company, all you need.
It's Ramon Foster for Two Rivers Ford, and I'm going to take you back to the 80s for a minute. 1983 to be exact, when Michael Jackson was topping the charts, when parachute pants were in style. I had a pair of those in the 90s. And when people listened to music on cassettes, yes, cassettes. 1983, the year Two Rivers Ford was born, in their 40th anniversary as a local business right here in Middle Tennessee. Two Rivers Ford has always been a big part of our community. They've been a big part of 104.5 The Zone, a big part of local sports, and a big part of local charities. Two Rivers Ford always steps up to do whatever it takes for this community. And if you're from Nashville, you know this. But if you're new in town, I'm going to tell you what Two Rivers Ford is all about. They have been doing business with honesty and integrity for 40 years. What you see is what you get. They are transparent and upfront, and they have non-commission salespeople, so they never pressure their customers. They're always great prices. They always sell below MSRP on non-specialty new Fords. They make car buying easy, whether you're ordering a vehicle, shopping on the lot, or shopping online. They do business however you want to do business. And Two Rivers Ford has asked me to make sure to say thank you to all of their customers and to this community for 40 great years. They've loved every minute of the ride. Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors right here on 104.5 The Zone. A parting gift from David Poile to the Nashville Predators organization. A mega trade last night and a huge return for a good player in Tanner Jeannot. We dive into that. We dive into some news of the NFL coming up here in just a couple of minutes as well. Plus your phone calls at 615-737-1045. With Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. Barry Trotz will be a general manager for the first time with a press conference coming up later today. He will serve as an advisor before fully stepping into the role, Kayla, after this season. Coming to Nashville with a shiny new Stanley Cup champions ring also that he didn't have when he left here in 2014.
Yeah. And as you all know here, he was the first ever and winningest head coach in Nashville. So this will be interesting because he will be the second general manager, which is kind of weird to put those two things in the same sentence. But I feel like they feel like Trotz has done enough as a head coach in, 23 seasons in the league and has been with a few different organizations. On top of it, Washington Capitals, New York Islanders. He is a very beloved coach across the league. I don't think I've spoke to one other head coach or player that doesn't like Barry Trotz. And I'm not joking.
Wow.
Like, it spans very far. Whether you're from the West Coast or East Coast or right in the middle here, just a lot of respect for him. So when it comes to, knowing hockey, knowing personnel, knowing what the game is all about, yeah, I definitely think Barry Trotz has that. But being a general manager is also a very different task in terms of what you do as a head coach.
Yeah.
And I think that, having Poile right now to kind of learn under in these next few months, that's great. But this is also something different because this isn't a guy who has had that experience being a GM yet. I'm not going to say it's not going to work because Barry Trotz is a guy that I believe in, but I think it's still, we got to wait to see, right? And I don't know if every fan is like, this is the right move. I think they love Barry Trotz, but there's probably a little bit of them in the back of their mind that say, okay, I hope this works.
How does a guy get this job that's a former coach? Will, you got that look on your face right now.
The issue I have with all of this is that David Poile is moving on in part because the Predators kept the band together a little bit too long. You're just keeping the band together again, just in a different way now.
You think he's going to make the same moves?
Yes.
Wow.
I think this organization is going to be run in a similar way. And again, I think if David Poile is retiring or if David Poile was, quote unquote, let go by the Predators, I think this was probably a mutual agreement between David Poile and the organization to say, look, this is a turning point in this franchise's future. It's time for somebody else to have the opportunity to build this thing the way they want to build it.
But can I ask real quick?
Okay, go ahead.
No, well, you pause for a minute. So I'm just asking because you said he has a ring and he's been in other places. So he's been away from Nashville for a while, away from the Predators organization.
Yeah.
So there is maybe parts to him where there's been growth and he's not just going to go back to what this organization did.
Yeah.
But the only GM he will have learned under in a front office perspective is the guy that is now retiring because the team is at a point of selling. I think the team needs fresh, new ideas from the outside and go a direction they haven't been before in order to build this thing into a different way. That's where I come from on this. But look, Barry Trotz is universally loved. I mean, there are a lot of people who are universally loved, though, that aren't qualified to be the guy. Hockey promotes from within a lot.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for something like this to happen.
Why is that the case, though? Like, why is hockey just in its own bubble? Is that like an NHL thing, or is that just like world hockey also? You know what I'm saying? As far as like, why does this have to be the case in the NHL, or just recycling? Because I had somebody just text me that a second ago, like, hockey recycles everybody for the most part.
There's a lot of people who recycle people.
Yeah.
Like in the league, in this business, and
talk
broadcasting.
About that in the NFL, yeah.
But no, I think because hockey is, first of all, it's not as big of a sport in the United States. It's just not gotten to that level. Because it is. It's kind of stuck in its ways.
So the way...
But they've got European players that come over. It's not like they're expanding. They're expanding across the globe, but I just feel like they do kind of stick to the ways that they do things, right?
So the people who know they continue to get these same jobs and opportunities simply because nobody else knows it as well as they do. They're almost historians in a sense on how they operate and what the league is supposed to look like. Is that what I'm getting out of it?
I guess you could say that. I mean, I've seen a lot of promotions from minor league. Yeah. I've seen a lot of those promotions. I mean, it happened with a couple coaches, you know, from the WHL or some of these feeder leagues. So I've seen that happen, but it is, then you'll see them, you know, go to that head coaching job after they leave there. So, I think any coaching situation, whether it's the NFL, NBA, there's a lot of retread. But the NHL, it's not big enough yet. It's not big enough in the U.S. I feel like that you kind of see that more.
Yeah.
I think where I'm at with the Preds, and look, to preface kind of my background with this team, I'll be honest with you guys. I went to more Preds games than any other Nashville sporting event growing up. I had a Predators goalie helmet that I would run around with in my house while I watched games every time. And we had the same tickets for a lot of games I was growing up. And I mean, heck, I was on the Jumbotron every game. It was like, this kid brought a goalie helmet? Like, what is this guy doing? And I'm just over here, like, I was in the, whatever. Like, I love the team. I love that the culture around hockey in Nashville. And again, I preface a lot that, you know, as someone who was born here the year that two professional sports teams, you know, were just coming to town, I feel like my generation of fans is the first generation that grew up with the city and with these teams.
I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
But even that being said, I'm ready to try something pretty different. I'm ready to go in a different direction. You've got a new owner coming in. You've got an opportunity to refresh a lot of the branding surrounding this team. And I know that branding off the ice and the way that your team has a voice within a city doesn't really impact wins and losses. But I feel like in a lot of ways, and I want this to be a positive statement, not a negative one, because I think there are a lot of great things the Nashville Predators do. I think the way they've embedded themselves in this community since day one has been exemplary. I think they've done a terrific job of becoming a part of this community and creating a band of diehards that love that organization and love that team. I think there's an opportunity for a big refresh and to change a lot of the identity of that team, move away from Smashville, right? Like what is the next step of the Nashville Predators look like when you're trying to refresh everything on the ice? You just traded Tanner Jeannot for 5 draft picks last night? A king's ransom to the Tampa Bay Lightning. That is what, by the way, Preds fans are used to when you talk about David Poile trades. That is how David Poile built the Preds into perennial a playoff team. He would win trades every single year.
Can I mention something about, though, and I think it's important because Andrew brings this up in the chat. The development is huge in hockey. Let's not understatement. It's huge. I mean, that's why there's so many, like, they can come from college. They can go to the minors before coming here. Some players are lucky enough, like Philip Forsberg, where they're just that guy, right? And sometimes you'll find that gem. But for the most part, guys, you're going to have to develop as a player. And I think what Trotz, like Andrew brought up, that he's known for is really knowing how to find those guys and help develop them. And I know he's not going to be the head coach, but I think it's just as important as a GM to find those guys and to see, okay, how can we continue to build this player to be NHL ready, to be that guy we need them to be. And I honestly, again, I wasn't here the whole time, but for 6 seasons, I don't know if the Preds really did a lot of that because they were just going and getting the big names. You didn't see those younger guys coming up and developing. You saw a few here and there as of late, but I didn't see as much as that.
Well, and some of the big names that they've brought up through their system, they've traded. Sam Girard in the trade for Kyle Turris, the 3-way trade with Ottawa and Colorado. At the time, Colorado was the team that was selling and stockpiling all the young talent and draft picks they possibly could. They just won the Cup last year with that guy on their team. The Preds chose Dante Fabro over Sam Girard at that turning point of their franchise and said, look, neither of these guys need to be third-pairing defensemen. We got to trust one of them to come up and be a dude. And they went and got Kyle Turris and traded Sam Girard in the process. Didn't work.
And then look at Ellie Tolvanen.
Right.
I mean, he's gone
Same way.
they couldn't develop him here, and he's gone to Seattle, and he's tearing it up.
Yeah.
So, do you trust Trotz to stay out of the way between GM and coach when it comes down to that? You know what I'm saying? As far as him being a good coach, as him being a development guy, some people get in positions and they find themselves skating on the ice with the coaches and players. Do you expect that out of Trotz? Is that what a hockey GM does?
Well, he's 60.
Okay.
So David Poile's 73.
Yeah.
So to me, Kayla, this feels like a transition to whatever the long-term future of the team is. Because Barry Trotz is already a veteran in this league.
Sure.
And is not a young – they didn't hire David's son, essentially.
No,
Brian Poile was not the pick.
Which we all kind of thought that might have happened,
I think
right?
so. Right.
Wow.
I think building himself with a good cast, a good supporting cast is key. And then, this is the next question, guys. What's going to happen with the head coach and John Hines? We just don't know that because usually when a GM comes in, they want their guy.
They want their guy, yeah, 100%.
And I don't know if that's going to change. I don't know if they'll give him another year to see how well those two work together. Or maybe they brought in Barry and said, hey, they do work well together. This is a good combo.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they're able to do. The details, again, on that trade they made last night, shipping Tanner Jeannot off to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Insane the return that they got for that guy. So it's certainly a larger discussion I think you can have of how much of a team's identity is essential to the long-term future of that brand. And how much do you change year to year and as different phases of organizations begin? Because I feel like we can have this discussion when the Tennessee Titans a couple of years ago branded themselves as good to great.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they were willing to refresh and change a lot of the brand identity and who that organization was within this community to fit Mike Vrabel, to fit John Robinson, and to grow into the next phase on the field. I think the Titans have actually done a really good job in advancing and shifting and being able to change with the city a little bit. I think the Preds have been a little bit more set in their ways to keep the same Smashville, and it's the same music, it's the same goalie chants, it's the same Fang Fingers, and some of that is tradition.
Some of that's tradition.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't get me wrong, I'm of the opinion the goalie chant stuff is fantastic. I love it. But I think a lot of that, you've got an opportunity to refresh right now, and you've got an opportunity to ask yourself within that building, how do we continue to evolve and adapt and listen to ourselves a little bit and self-evaluate what we can be moving forward?
It's interesting listening to you, who was a youngster following this team, to now you are an adult, expecting more out of them. Will, I think that's where your portion of it is coming from. Is look, I've seen this. I'm an adult now in the sense of I'm a part of this fan base. I'm a part of this growth, and I want to see dubs. Your demand for dubs may be different from somebody that's 40, 45, 50. You know what I'm saying? But I get your aggressiveness, and look, we've seen this work. And it doesn't work anymore in today's NHL, and not for this city too. What you got in 2017 is hard to get back if you do the same thing, is what you're saying.
I remember the morning that they traded for Peter, the night they traded for Peter Forsberg.
Yeah.
And waking up, going to school, and watching Barry Melrose on SportsCenter say, Nashville just became the contender in the NHL.
Wow.
For the first time in 2006, at that point, 2006, 2007, when they really went all in, the conversation was Nashville isn't just a team that exists in this sport.
Yeah.
They're ready to compete. Legitimately, I grew up to go into more playoff implications, playoff hockey games than anything else. It was just what you did.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of really good people that work over there. I don't want to be too critical of the in-game experience in Bridgestone Arena, because I think it's really, really good, and I think it's been good for a long time. I'm ready to see the organization take the next step and evolve. And now that they're sellers at the deadline for the first time since I was a senior in high school, since the last time they didn't make the playoffs, because they're not making the playoffs this year. It's exciting.
By change, you mean, in your terms, aggressive. You looking for aggressiveness in the approach to free agency, play, and culture moving forward.
And it looks like they're going to be.
Okay.
If they're trading Tanner Jeannot, I think, Kayla, correct me if I'm wrong, this could have started happening 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Becoming sellers. It definitely could have happened last year.
this is an indicator. Like, they're going to get young. They're going to get bad before they get good, in my opinion. Like, this is what you do when you rebuild in hockey. You trade away your big guys and you get draft picks. And that's what the Nashville Predators are doing right now. They haven't done that, like Will said, in the past couple of years when some people thought they should have been sellers. They've been guys that have gone out and got a piece or two or got that big piece when they got Matt Duchene. Now they're like, I think this is them saying, okay, this is time. Like, we're going to have to start rebuilding from the cupboard.
Wow. Yeah.
There's also the fact that, like, a generational prospect is available this year for whoever gets the number 1 overall pick.
So
that's going to probably encourage more teams on the fence to be sellers. In the NHL.
That's rare.
Connor Bedard. Oh, my goodness.
Are they tanking or what?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that, you don't use that word.
Yeah.
They're not tanking. They're not intentionally trying to lose, but they're putting themselves in the draft lottery within that top 10 to have at least a 2% chance of getting Connor Bedard. So,
and generational talent in the NHL,
it means
it's not easy to come by. But when you get that guy in the NHL,
legit.
Man.
So in terms of generational, like, how quick is the turnover for a guy like him to get on the ice and start making
What do you mean?
impact?
It's like right away. Like, those guys are...
For a top 3 pick, year 1.
Yeah, those
Straight
are now
up.
For
guys.
everyone else, you're taking 3-4 years on average in the minors. Like, that's the difference. Is it's like baseball.
Okay.
Where if you get drafted, you're going to the KHL, you're going to Canada, you're going to a minor league affiliate for at least maybe 2 years on average. But if you're a top 3 or if you're number 1, you've got a good shot at being there day 1.
What position does this kid play? He's
center. I mean, they're usually
he's a scorer.
Scorers.
Scorers.
And that's something the Preds haven't had always, that consistency, that guy.
Just to scratch a scab real quick, this is like Pittsburgh getting Sid.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
exactly
that
what it
level
is.
talent.
I say scratch a scratch because I know that's always a big
It's like
debate here.
Edmonton getting Connor McDavid.
Exactly.
Like, that's what they would be getting.
Wow.
I did not. If you told me Friday we'd be breaking down the NHL draft on Monday's show before we talk NFL draft, I don't know what I would have told you, but here we are.
You just never know. We got to be ready to do it all.
And from one number 1 overall pick to another, Adam Schefter has some news this morning on the Chicago Bears. The season of lies begins at a new pace as Combine Week begins. On Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Finding value is important all the time, but especially these days. And that's why I'm so confident in recommending Genesis Diamonds. Value is the core principle that Genesis was founded on. The owner is a former diamond wholesaler who used to sell diamonds to upscale jewelry stores, but he hated how much they marked up the prices when they sold them to their customers. So he cut them out and started selling direct to the public at fair and honest prices that eliminated the traditionally fat retail profit margins. And that direct importer advantage still applies at Genesis Diamonds. That's why they beat everyone else's prices on GIA certified diamonds, but it's more than just price. At Genesis, you get a higher quality diamond with the best cut for maximum brilliance, no commission salespeople, a personal, relaxed shopping experience, free service for life on any purchase also. You can also get the best rings money can buy from the top designers in America. These are handcrafted, American-made rings from the most sought-after designers, names like Tacori and Verragio and many more. So this year, as you think about getting engaged or celebrating a milestone of any kind, remember Genesis Diamonds. Best selection, highest quality, guaranteed best value, and a locally owned company with amazing international connections. Genesis Diamonds, located in Green Hills and in Cool Springs.
Our own Kayla Anderson, proud to be participating in the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Visionaries of the Year campaign to help fight against blood cancer. Consider supporting this organization by making a contribution to her campaign at 1045thezone.com/Team Kayla. All donations greatly appreciated and tax deductible. Again, 1045thezone.com/Team Kayla. Do it.
We're always Team Kayla on this show for 4 hours a day. Really, for
Always.
24 hours a day.
I mean, seriously.
Not just when we're on
24.
the
I'm
show.
not asking you to be 24.
What are you talking about?
I mean, I hadn't been 24 in a while.
We're Team Shafe, Team Kayla, Team Savage.
Yeah, but I'm team y'all for like 18 hours a
Team
day.
bowling.
6 hours, I got to sleep, bro.
That's it?
Yeah.
6 hours.
6 to 7.
I got close to 7 last night.
Although this past weekend, your boys slept a lot.
I was up early Saturday morning.
Yeah, I did
Dude,
not.
Friday night, I fell asleep 6 o'clock.
Wow.
We went from goodness sakes, we went from just hanging out with the boys Friday. So I was emceeing a road race Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And as my friends were leaving, they were going to a bar that I will not give a free shout out to. And they were like, let's go get a beer and a shot and come back and play poker. And I was like, and with that, I'm going to bed. But my roommate was like, oh, I just get like 4.5 hours of sleep a night. And I was like, are you okay? I know.
I don't get those
That's what
type
I'm
of
saying.
people.
I was like, hey, buddy.
Okay.
I don't.
Is he on Adderall
I hope he's
all the
listening
time,
right
or
now.
what?
No, he's not.
Jeez.
I'd have like
Shot a ton
big
of
bags under
coffee.
my eyes.
I'd be so
and-
terrible. You know how cranky I would be with 4 hours nightly?
Me too.
So
I'm playing Madden all night?
Yeah,
or
I'm about
something?
6 and a half. I got to get about 6.
At least six. Yeah. At least 6.
I've told Shafe before.
Uh-oh.
Kayla and I have had this conversation. Well, actually, I don't know if I've told Kayla about this. Ramon and I have definitely talked about it, and I pitched the idea to Shave. But Kayla, at some point this summer, when we get into the doldrums of the dog days, when all there's to talk about is like, well, nothing between OTAs and training camp.
Yeah.
We should do like a week of in-depth interviews from like your background, and then a week of like people knowing me. And like people that I grew up with, or like we do a week of both of us as the new members here
I'm
Yeah.
here for that.
of like an hour a day for a week, and it's like, oh, it's Kayla week.
Do we set parameters on what's asked?
I think that you could suggest
Okay.
half of the people, and then you all can decide the other half. Like I will tell you, like my roommate will need to come on and be like, all right, this guy, I really have been friends with this guy for 24 years. Like this is how like it, and you can fact check my stories
Okay.
from people that can tell me like for certain. Just as fun.
I'll ask you silly questions like, when did you learn how to ride a bike? At
I just feel
12?
like Ramon also needs to be involved in this
Oh no,
Yeah, I got
100%.
no problem with it.
because, we need to fact check him.
See, I feel like Ramon comes into this perfectly as like you are the interrogator.
I
You're
love
like, now tell me.
That's true, though.
You
He
like-
is good at instigating.
Like with all the games that I told you, I saw you play in when you were at Tennessee. Like my brother sits in here, my sister sit in here, and you're like, okay, did this actually happen?
And that's the thing with Ramon is that his history is the most documented, at
It
least
is.
professionally. Yeah.
At least on that's what I was gonna say, on the surface of it, it is.
Yeah, on a surface level, it's the most documented.
It's most
Right.
See,
documented.
the fun part about us is that we get to have family on of his every Tuesday on the show.
Yeah.
So we get to hear
That's
stories.
true,
We get
'cause
to hear
Ron
stories
Slay.
that Ramon Foster, the angel, does not want out there in the world.
Perfect.
When Ron Slay tells us how it really is on Tuesdays at the end of the show.
Y'all
Exactly.
wanna hear what happened at Ron Slay house yesterday too?
Oh, I would love to.
Oh my gosh. This was on me, literally. So I'm dropping off something at his crib. I had this green egg. I've been promising to give to him for a very long time because my wife got me another one.
which is the griller.
It's the big grill. And I was like, okay, we got a couple hours. Come on, boys. Wife, let's go out here to Brentwood, drop this off.
Sure.
It was soggy a little bit yesterday,
Yep.
right? Ron's got this retaining wall that, of course, how retaining walls are. I usually have trees over them and stuff like that. So we lift up this green egg over the retaining wall, and I'm pulling it up on a dolly because I'm trying to, okay, I got this, Ron. I got it. It's cool.
Hello, Dolly. Well,
And let me tell y'all, it was already wet outside. Here, this green egg probably weighs like 250 pounds.
Oh, they're that heavy,
And I'm
huh?
pulling it on a dolly. And I slipped one time. Cool.
uh-oh.
Got my footing. I'm good to go. I slip another time. Back, arm,
What?
legs, butt, wet, mud butt out here, y'all. Oh, my gosh. We were just talking about falling. Y'all remember that last week? It was like, man, I hadn't fell in a very long time. Your boy planned it yesterday on the ground. I did. I jinxed myself. Don't ever brag about not falling again. Y'all hear me?
Why didn't you just call? I would have come over and helped you out.
Nah, man. It was too much pride on the line out there. I was trying to.
You know what that's called, Mo?
Yep.
You know what that's called?
Stupid.
That's a you problem.
That was a me problem.
So did you help yourself up?
I
did. you
did.
have help up? Because I could just see you trying to get up and then you fall
But
back.
you used to have to
Again.
pull Ben up from the ground, so who pulled you up this time?
Yeah,
I got
exactly.
up quick because I couldn't lay there like that. You hear me? I was muddy. I had to borrow some of Ron's clothes.
Were you embarrassed?
A little bit because my kid was out there. I was like,
Right.
God.
Not really an athlete.
Yeah, pretty much, man.
I kicked down my leg.
My wife was like, oh, and Ron's like, oh, savage. And I was like, hey, I'm up quick, though.
Did you get a bloody nose from that, too?
I did not.
He got punched in the nose on the way down.
I was.
Do it all.
Like, dude, I'm a little offended, Mount. Because you know I would have helped you out.
I know, and it was in my, man, I messed up those on runnings and everything. My orange ones that I wear, those are my favorite workout shoes. Those got muddy.
They're in the trash?
I clearly didn't. No, I'm drying those out. I'm
Okay, so
usually
you're getting those
terrible with that
cleaned.
type. Oh, man, I planted so hard on the ground, y'all. It was so bad.
Why did nobody, Slay, why did we not get this on video?
Oh, man.
So
There's got to be a ring camera somewhere that
Did
has
Slay
footage
see
of
it?
this.
That's dry. He
So-
was right there by me.
Man, Slay, take out that phone the next time.
So, Ramon, what did you hit yesterday?
He had a big old butt.
Oh.
I hit it yesterday, man. But let me tell you this. I had to get some clothes for him. Had it not been for my weight loss, I might not have been able to fit his clothes yesterday.
Oh, you borrowed Ron's clothes
Yeah, I
even?
borrowed his clothes.
Wow.
I look like a blueberry though, because he gave me blue. He gave me blue shorts
Look at that.
and a blue
Sheesh.
top. I was like,
So you looked like you
Wow.
played for Kentucky.
I did. His fiance walked in, Chris. She was like, "Oh, Mo, all that blue you got going on." I was like, "Hey, take the petty out your voice."
Man, well, we needed that as blackmail, that video.
really did.
They looking at me, examining me. It's like, "Oh, it's all over your butt and your leg and arm." I'm like, "Come on, man."
Well, at least you didn't break anything.
Coming up next on Augustus Gloop, Kayla and Will, 615-737-1045. You're the big plum in Willy Wonka, the chocolate factory,
boy.
just floating down the chocolate river in
Oh.
all blue.
That was me.
That's after you fell down.
Just a big turd floating down.
Adam Schefter with news of the NFL concerning the number one overall pick.
No, hold on. Kayla, what did you just say? What'd you say, Kayla?
Just a big turd floating
That's
down.
got to be racist.
7:55. Oh, hey now. Into the second half.
He was waiting for
I
that.
don't know if we can find the rails with which to get this show back on. Coming up on 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon and Kayla for Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Look, Kayla, listeners, it's getting hot early this year. If you haven't already booked your spring tune-up for your AC unit, listen, now is the time. Through the month of March, get your AC tuned up for just $79 and get the fall tune-up for free. And did you turn on your AC unit this week and realize quickly it wasn't working like it should? Don't wait until peak of summer to get a repair. Spring Hill Heating and Cooler offers free service calls with their repairs, plus low monthly payments on those repairs too, Kayla. Tell them about the Spring Hill Heating and Cooling family. Though.
Yeah, we love this family, and they are guaranteed going to be around here for a long time. They already have been here with 20 years of experience. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, ultimately the ultimate family, the family business known for outstanding customer service. And you might ask, well, why is that? It's not just a company reputation, y'all. They have not been able to hide behind their family reputation. They put it all on the line every single day. The Spring Hill Heating and Cooling family, they respond promptly to your issues, no matter what they are, and they get the problems resolved quickly and accurately. And like I mentioned, they're not going anywhere.
Speaking of that, too, if you do need a new unit, they've got you covered. Get it done now and get 18 months of no payments. You heard us right. If you buy a new unit today, you won't have to pay for it until August of 2024. That's 2 Nashville summers of having your home perfectly cool. Seems like a no-brainer. And be sure to tell them that Kayla and Ramon sent you.
Check them out.
8:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Nashville Predators have announced that David Poile, the only general manager in franchise history, will retire from that position and also as president of hockey operations on June 30th. He will remain affiliated with the organization as an advisor. Meanwhile, Barry Trotz, the first and winningest coach in Predators history, will become the new general manager on July 1st. He will take the reins officially just days after the NHL draft, which will be hosted here at Bridgestone Arena on June 28th and 29th. The Preds have traded forward Tanner Jeannot to the Tampa Bay Lightning for their first-round selection in 2025, second-rounder in 2024, and third, fourth, and fifth-round selections in the upcoming draft in 2023. The Predators also acquired defenseman Cal Foote in the trade. The Predators on the ice last night, 6-2 win over the Coyotes. Roman Josi, 2 goals and an assist. Women's hoops yesterday, Lady Vols cruised to an 83-63 win over Kentucky to wrap up the regular season. Tennessee finished with a 13-3 SEC record. That gets them the number 3 seed in the upcoming SEC tournament. And to the men's side, Belmont defeated Northern Iowa 83-75. With the win, Belmont secured the number 4 seed in their first visit ever in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Into the second half of the show, hour number 3 off and running. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Coming up, VFL, Jayson Swain on the Sports Animal in Knoxville. Jayson Swain will join us. His thoughts on Tennessee's palate cleanser, so to speak, against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Another 40-point win for Tennessee. Vols would be great if they could just play South Carolina every week in basketball. 615-737-1045 is our number. That's a self-burn to begin the 8 a.m. hour. Alongside Vol for Life, Ramon Foster, our capitalized J journalist, Kayla Anderson, and the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer.
The best producer in the world.
My name is Will Bowling.
His name is Will
There it is.
Bowling.
Check him out.
Oh, I can see. I don't even need to look directly at him. Millie whopping over here.
What a Monday morning Millie Rock on us.
And if you are the general manager of an NFL team, you've likely been informed by Adam Schefter this morning that the number 1 pick is available.
Oh, boy.
Tennessee Titans, question mark?
Is it really breaking news, though?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not.
I mean, it's the beginning of the combine.
We all kind of thought, yeah, this pick's going to be up for sale at the right price.
Oh, so Jason Lockenfora was it right again?
Easy, Tiger.
Keep receipts, Will. I will say it's a little bit of a surprise, though. Somewhat questionable is what I would put it, because about 2 weeks ago, there's rumors that Justin Fields will be up on the trading block.
Season of
too.
lies.
Jason
I
Lockenfora.
see now. That's who it was. Well, there we go.
It came down this simply. If you are going to keep Fields, you can trade out of one.
Right.
It's that simple.
It's that simple. And I actually thought of, because we had that conversation of who you want here. Justin Fields. Who was the other couple guys that was on that list? But Fields was one of them. Like, do you want him? Do you want somebody else?
We were talking about like Trey Lance
and Jordan Love. That was the conversation last week sometime. And I was just thinking, well, Chicago really holds all the cards right now. Like they do. And the real question is, for a team that's wrestling for a quarterback, since Chicago don't need one, what is that first worth? And how far will Chicago go back and a team like the Titans actually try to move up? Like, there is opportunity now. Like, you really shake up stuff between the Colts, Texans, Bears, and almost anybody else that's in that position.
Since the AFL-NFL merger in 1967, the number 1 pick has been traded 12 times before the start of the draft, most recently from your Tennessee Titans. 2016 for Jared Goff. The pick that would then become a number of Tennessee Titans, including Jack Conklin. at that point. That was only the second time in the last 22 years that the number one pick changed hands before the draft. The previous time was the Atlanta Falcons moving up from number 2 to draft Michael Vick, number 1 overall in 2001.
Wow.
God,
2001.
Yeah.
Who does it say who was in front of them for that number?
The Vikings.
The Vikings were. Jeez.
Yep.
I wonder how that's worked out for teams in the past. That go
I think
up.
is what it said.
Yeah.
Thought it did.
But either way, that you got to ask yourself, what is that pick worth, man? You got to give up yours and probably another first round, especially for the number 1 overall pick. Now, if you're like the
Chargers,
Texans,
sorry, that's my bad.
oh, all good. If you're like the Texans that's had a good bunch of draft picks and stuff like that, or have some to give, or Miami, then this kind of makes all the sense in the world. This is going to be a very interesting draft, I think, as far as moves being made. Last year, we got some of that, too.
I'm all for those types of drafts.
You are for that?
I love it.
Yeah.
Brings excitement.
Chaos.
I like chaos in the draft.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think I'll ever forget being in the Titans draft room, hosting Titans Radio with Mike Keefe, Red, and Coach Mack.
What year?
It's the best.
Last year. Remember last year?
Oh, yeah.
When
yeah.
We got information
Oh, boy.
from the VOD himself. It's like, hey, it's about to be something happening. Let's be cool. I was just like,
did you know? Did you know? Did
We
you
knew
say
about
what
2
it was?
minutes, but yeah. We knew about 2 minutes before the pick came up, and I'm sitting back there just rocking back and forth.
You're like
looking
sweating. You're like, someone give me a towel.
And then news started to break on Twitter first, and I forget who it was that tweets. No, it wasn't Schefter. It was a draft night guy. Gosh, he's a verified NFL insider.
I think it was Rappaport.
Was it Rapp? It may have been Rapp or
The
somebody
one I saw
else.
first was Schefter.
Was it Schefter? And it started to go, and people in the room started holding up phones and stuff.
Oh, God.
Kayla, chaos? Oh my God! Somebody dropped their socks on our friggin' desk up there.
I was in the media room in Vegas at the draft,
Yeah,
and I thought it was a fake account.
you did.
I thought it was a fake tweet. I thought somebody had made an Adam Schefter lookalike, and then I saw the check mark, and it was just like staring at your phone blankly for an hour. But true or false to the next statement, one word. The Titans are more likely to trade down than they are to trade up for a higher pick. True or false?
True.
True.
I agree.
True.
Yep.
All day.
I would rather the Titans go back to about 16 or 17 versus go up to about 3 or 4 to get a quarterback. Because then bye-bye to your first round next year.
Yeah,
Probably.
Yeah, that's true.
Or at least your second this year.
Yeah, I think hoarding draft picks is probably at the best advantage for the Titans at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But do you also, catch yourself by saying, well, gosh, who's going to be there at 16, 17 if that's the case too? As far as protection, left and right tackles when we're talking about that. Again,
Right.
The solution could be to move an experienced rookie MPF over to the left side. I always think that's a conversation.
But there is such a rich of O linemen
It is.
in this year's draft, and I think in the past you might not have that
Yeah.
where you chance it, but I just feel like there are so many guys, and I'm
is.
interested to see the combine. I know it's not really made for O linemen
Yeah.
necessarily, but we saw so much of those guys in the Senior Bowl, and then the guys we haven't seen, we're going to see them at the combine. But there's such a rich pool to draw from.
It is. If there's a stronger group, it's probably the O-line and D-line this year as opposed to everybody else. It's so many
And
wide
tight ends.
receivers. Yeah, tight ends. Yeah.
Since Andrew Luck retired as the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts, the Colts have had a type at the quarterback position that would change if they are to trade up and get Bryce Young. Jacoby Brissett, 6'4". Phillip Rivers, 6'5". Carson Wentz, 6'5". Matt Ryan, 6'4".
All of them tall.
Dang.
Bryce Young would be a
6'4"?
deviation. Luck was a pretty big guy.
Luck was.
Yeah,
Luck was a
Luck's
can't-miss prospect, though,
pretty good.
regardless.
Yeah, he was.
Good
He was
size.
6'4", 240.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that being said, are the Colts going to either take Richardson or Levis? Because I feel like the Colts are not going to go for Bryce Young. That is so different from what they've had. The way Richardson is trending,
Yeah.
this is where the lies begin when it comes to quarterbacks and the quarterback draft being independent of everything else. From what Jeremy Fowler has said, from what many have said around the league, Anthony Richardson is rising quickly.
Can you imagine being him? Did Richardson start last year? He did.
It's his first year as the
Yeah.
full-time starter.
And that's what I mean. This
Oh,
year.
you're meaning, was this his only year?
Was this his first?
Well, Emory
year
Jones
starting?
was before that, and they went back and forth,
was.
and Emory was kind of the guy at the beginning of the season, and Anthony took over.
This is what I love about the draft season, and also, as Coach Mack always says, the two drafts, the quarterback draft. This guy goes from one of the highest highs in game one to a low against Kentucky to one of the highest highs he had like against us as far as passing. Finished the year out, declared for the draft. Probably a second rounder to some. Now he's catapulted all the way up to potentially the number 1 overall pick.
And I don't think that's going to happen because. But listen,
Go ahead.
They also love to do this in terms of putting the NFL future quarterback,
Yes.
the prospects. They like to do this. They like to hype it up. They like to put the news out there. They like to see that because people love to talk about the quarterbacks like you're doing right now. And it does not necessarily mean these teams are like, oh, yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, let's not forget Malik at one
There
point
you
during
go.
the season of Lies was a top 10
Right.
overall pick.
Carolina, what, 6 or 7 was the rumor?
Yeah.
I mean, coming out of the combine, it was Malik Willis has the highest ceiling of
Yeah.
any quarterback in this draft. He could be the number 1 guy off the board.
Yeah, so boys and girls, this is all.
Blah, blah, blah.
That's what it is.
They like to pump it up.
I wonder if, for Anthony Richardson's sake, does he have both his mom and dad in his life, according to Deion Sanders? I got to drop that real quick. He was like, when you're going after quarterback, you want the ones with a mom and dad in their life. I was just like, Deion.
Okay, I'm
Let's
sorry.
not do
what?
that. Yeah, he had his whole criteria of what it was. It burned me the wrong way,
What
but
in-
it was the wrong thing to say in my mind, whether true or not. I just laugh at it a little bit, and I had to make that little quirky mark right
Well,
there.
he
'Cause
also
I didn't
thought
like it.
He also thought Kevin Byard was just a fan. So
Yeah.
I have
I'll never get over
He's
that.
getting so many passes as of late, and I'll be honest with you. So when certain people start talking a tad bit much,
Yeah.
it kind of ruins who they are to you a little bit. And Deion making that comment to me, it's like, you don't want a quarterback that don't have a mom and dad in their life. What? Like, come on, don't do that.
same guy that left playoffs for the Atlanta Braves to play regular season Atlanta Falcons football. Unbelievable. 615-737-1045, the number. Coming up, a Chicago Bear himself in Jayson Swain. Big Bears guy. See if there's a lot of Bears guys in the UT media market, I guess.
Yeah,
Between him and
guess
Grant.
so.
See what Swain wants the Bears to do.
I know.
We'll give Swain an over-under on a 40 time for Jalen Hyatt this week at the NFL Combine. 4-3 over-under. Jayson Swain gives his thoughts. We talk Tennessee, South Carolina, much more coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for Window Nation. If you're noticing your energy costs have been rising nationwide, listen to me, they are up by 14%. And it's not too late to fix your high energy bills, all while getting off-season prices from Window Nation. Beat the rush with 2 free windows with every 2 you buy. Plus, pay 0 down, make 0 payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months. That's 2 years paying nothing. You can call 866-90-NATION or go online at windownation.com. And if you didn't know, 43% of your utility bill is heating costs. You save up to 30% on your heating bills by getting Window Nation windows. Increase the value of your home by up to $12,000 and get a federal tax credit up to $500 also. And are your windows leaking? That's because that can cause serious structural damage to your home and cause mold to grow inside of your home. Leaky windows can allow mold to grow inside your home completely unnoticed, and now is the time to replace those leaky windows. And we also know this too, weather impacts your windows. Hot days and cold nights can cause caulk to crack, seal failures, and condensation. Window Nation only uses the top of the line materials, including mold spray and quad max sealant. Toughest against all weather conditions. Again, listen to me. Buy 2 windows and get 2 windows free with no limit on how many windows you're going to get. The number is, again, 866-90-NATION, or go online at windownation.com and be sure to tell them that Ramon sent you.
This is your Off the Track Racing Report, brought to you by Nissan of Rivergate.
It only took until the second points race of the NASCAR Cup Series season for Kyle Busch to win with his new team. Driving for Richard Childress Racing, Busch won Sunday's event at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. It was Busch's 61st Cup Series win of his career, which is the most among active drivers and 9th on the all-time list. Busch now has won at least one Cup race in 19 consecutive seasons, setting a new NASCAR record. He joined Richard Childress Racing after spending 15 years with Joe Gibbs Racing, where he won 2 series championships. NASCAR remains out west, racing Sunday at Las Vegas. Start time locally set for 2:30 on Fox. I'm Jonathan Schaefer.
This has been your Off the Track Racing Report, brought to you by Nissan of Rivergate.
I'm Liz Allison, the Zone's NASCAR Insider. If there's one thing I know, it's cars. If you're in the market for a new car, let my friends at Nissan of Rivergate take care of you. I can assure you they will do that and give you the best care and the best prices in town. I know this because I've bought 2 cars from them myself. I have a Nissan Armada and love it. All the comforts of a car with all the extra space of an SUV. Nissan of Rivergate is located at 1550 Gallatin Pike North and online at nissanofrivergate.com.
Monday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will continues. And as always, it's powered by our friends at All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Alongside Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. Tennessee getting a 40-point win over South Carolina over the weekend. NFL Combine beginning for a number of VFLs. And joining us to discuss that and much more is our friend Jayson Swain from the Sports Animal in Knoxville. What's going on, Swain? How are you?
What's up, guys? Trying to be like you guys.
I knew he was going to hear it. No, Swain, we're trying to be like you, man.
Nah, you don't want to downgrade, man. You want to upgrade.
Well, Swain, as a Chicago Bear enthusiast yourself, are there any smoke screens or other just things you want to throw into the atmosphere of what may or may not happen with the number one overall pick coming up this week at the NFL Combine?
Man, let's just not mess it up. I mean, a couple of years ago, the Bears had a chance to draft Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, ended up with Mitchell Trubisky. Now you got the number one overall pick. Just don't mess it up. Don't try to be cute. I think there's a lot of positivity with the Bears right now with Justin Fields and how he played last year. Big cap space for the Bears to make moves and bring in some talent. Just don't mess it up. That's all I ask.
That's what Ramon tells me every morning before the show begins. Just don't mess it up. That's all they ask. Well, Tennessee didn't mess up Saturday in a 40-point win over South Carolina, Swain. How much do you take away from this game? How important was it to get a healthy Josiah Jordan-James back in the lineup?
I think it was important because of the adversity that this team has faced over the last couple of weeks. They're good enough to beat the best team in the country. They can be the best team in the country. We've seen that part from them. We've also seen a part from them where they can lose to an unranked opponent and go cold and lose games maybe you're not supposed to lose. I expected this team to bounce back the way they did on Saturday. You look at the makeup of this basketball team, it's a bunch of guys that were overlooked. There's a bunch of underdogs on this basketball team, and you put them together. When you hear some outside criticism with the loss of Texas A&M and a couple losses in the last couple of weeks, and then Josiah's banged up, and there's some people questioning whether or not he could have won against Texas A&M. I just figured these guys would have come out and play intense. We saw that from the get-go. Aggressive cutting, setting hard screens. I mean, they were flying around. The ball was zipping from sideline to sideline. They did not let the ball stick at all. And then Josiah was great. I mean, shooting the basketball from the outside. I mean, him being able to play the 3 and the 4 and make shots on the outside allows for guys like Meshack to drive the lane. That's especially offensively. We saw a basketball team offensively that was a little bit different with Josiah in the lineup. So if they can make shots, we know the defense is on point. I mean, this team could go really far, or if they don't make shots, we've seen they could lose games they're not supposed to lose.
Swain, is that a letdown almost at this point? Because as much back and forth we've seen with big wins, bad losses, man, if they go and get bounced in the second round, is that really a letdown at this point with what we've seen?
I think it would be a letdown, just like last year was a letdown, Ron. I mean, this basketball team, last year won the SEC tournament. They were playing as hot as anyone in the country. And you give credit to Michigan. They were able to win that game, but we just couldn't make shots last year in the tournament versus Michigan. And in the first round, we were making everything. So that just lets you know how this game of basketball can be very, very humbling. I think when you look at Tennessee being number 2 at one point in the country and being in the top 10 most of the year, to lose in the second round, I think will be a huge disappointment. But that's the expectations you want, Ramon. Like,
yeah.
You didn't come to Tennessee just to be happy going to, just a mid-tier bowl game. You came to Tennessee because you want to win championships. And so when you don't reach your goal, like it should be a disappointment. Like, don't run away from it and try to lower the standards to make yourself feel good. If Tennessee basketball loses in the second round, it will be a disappointment. And that's just a testament to Rick Barnes and his ability to raise the profile of this program and expectations. A decade and a half ago, 2 decades ago, a second-round exit, people will be cheering and giving you a pat on the back. But that's not the case anymore, and that's a good thing. So, this team is good enough to go a whole lot far, and if they don't do it, I think it would be a disappointment for sure. They would have failed their mission.
Okay, you got me. I'm cold. I was seeking comfort right there, Swain. You called me out on it.
No, man, we can't grow when we're comfortable, man. So
no doubt,
we gotta go
for sure.
We gotta go. And I say this too, Ramon. Like, I love watching this basketball team play. Like, they're appointment television for me, and I don't care about the inconsistencies from a performance standpoint because that's how basketball is. Sometimes you don't make shots, but these guys, they love each other. They play hard for one another. We don't have any off-the-court issues. The culture is super, super positive. And, again, these guys play their butts off. And if you're a Tennessee fan, that's what you want. You want athletes to come in here and give their all for Tennessee, and that's exactly what they're doing every time they get on the court. So I love watching them play. I love this basketball team.
Man, that's good hearing that, Swizzy, man. The other part of that is what you're saying, giving it all for Tennessee. You're in Knoxville on campus a lot of the time too, man. And the question I have for you is watching the Lady Vols as of late still, you do their thing. They got a 20-point win this weekend. Watching the Base Vols do their thing. The Lady Vols softball teams do their thing. And what I'm saying is this. When you came in earlier in your career at UT, it was a good vibe. Is there a better? Is this timeline better than what ours was?
As far as winning on the playing field, the court, absolutely. I mean, you didn't have this level of performance on the playing surface, and then you didn't have the alignment with the university leadership either. So, yeah, like the only thing that could be better right now, Ramon, is the strip going back the way it was 15 years ago.
Oh, yes.
like that's the only thing that's missing from this whole equation, man. Like, the strip is not the strip anymore.
Oh.
But the winning on the field and on the court, on the diamond, oh, man. And the Lady Vols, they've had a rough beginning of the season because they played some really, really good teams, and the record is not what we used to seeing with Lady Vol basketball over a long period of time. But these girls are fighting. They're fighting. They're continuing to improve. They're playing their butts off. Like, their South Carolina performance, even though they came up short, man, they were giving their all. And, man, that's when I look at teams, like, that's the number one thing that matters on top of the result. And if that wavers with the effort and playing together and playing the hardest, then you know you got a severe problem, and then you need to make changes. But our ball teams are winning, but they playing their butts off for the university and for themselves and their teammates.
And just real quick, Swain, the vibes were different when the walk-up window at Crystal was still a thing on Cumberland Avenue.
I was usually asleep around that time.
Okay.
You gotta ask Ramon about that. He was a party animal.
Yeah, right, man.
He doesn't claim to be either.
No, the way y'all guys were kicking it at Rocky Top Market, hey, y'all showed me the way.
Hey, man, I went one time. That was one time I went. That wasn't a thing for me, man. Yeah. I went one time. I was like, yeah, this is too much.
This is too. I don't want that gut blast when I wake up in the morning.
That's true too.
You know, when it comes to just all these guys getting them all on the floor together, I think that's what's been frustrating too for this Vols team, right? So you get Josiah Jordan-James back, he balls out, but you're still missing Julian Phillips. And then, you know, where's Tyreek Key? Like, so if they get all these guys ready to go towards the end of the season, do you really feel like that's the recipe to take them far?
No, absolutely. I mean, Julian Phillips is one of the best defenders, in the country. Offensively, he hasn't, done what I think we put in our minds that a five-star is supposed to do come in to college. They're supposed to just go for 15, 20 points a game. But, like, this team is a really good defensive team because of Julian Phillips. And they're good. They've been good without him, don't get me wrong. But, like, his length, him and Josiah being able to guard different positions. He's a slasher who can make shots at the free throw line. Free throws have been an issue for Tennessee over the last couple of weeks. Think about basketball, though. Like, you can miss a couple of games even being like 90-something%, but because like the end of the season is the most important. In football, you only get a certain number of opportunities. So you're playing at 70%. Like, you don't sprain ankle, hey, whatever, put some tape on and give me some medicine, and I'm playing because you only have a limited amount of opportunities.
Sure.
And basketball it's just different, man. Like, these guys, hip flexor, it would take a lot for a guy to miss a football game or sprain an ankle. It'll take a lot for a guy to miss a football game. But basketball is different. The playing surface is different. That hardwood is unforgiving. But I do think once these guys get back, that this team will be in position like any other team in the country to make a deep run. They just got to make shots and not turn the ball over.
And with just down the stretch here, I cannot believe it's almost the end of the regular season SEC play. It's just crazy to think about. But you finish off with Arkansas and then at Auburn. Is it key here to get the consistency down the stretch, or if they lose a game, it's okay?
I mean, I think if you lose the game, it's okay.
Okay.
I mean, last year, Tennessee finished the season the way you're supposed to, right? I mean, you beat Auburn at home. You handle Arkansas. You run the table in the SEC tournament. We thought that Tennessee would improve a seeding. They didn't. They still were number 3 seed and still got bounced in the second round going into the tournament hot. So if you lose a game here and Julian Phillips doesn't play, and you look at Arkansas and Nick Smith back, that's a different Arkansas team. Like, they're really, really good. And then Auburn, they haven't been good. Let's not lie to ourselves here. But the atmosphere in the jungle is hard to play in. And if you don't start fast, then that crowd can get in your face and your ear. And you turn the ball over a couple times early, and then it snowballs. And then Wendell Green gets hot. He's been up and down. But that's a hard place to play. So you got to come out fast in the Auburn game. But that Arkansas game will be tough at home.
Jayson Swain, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Swain, over under a 4.340 for Jalen Hyatt this week at the NFL Combine. Which one you taking?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm going under. I'm going under.
Ooh.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going under 4.3. 4.3 flat. Yeah, I'm going under. Here's a guy who was running under 4.3s in high school.
Yep.
Yeah.
And during this time here at Tennessee, he's only gotten bigger, stronger, faster. And these last couple of weeks, all he's done is just training. Mm-hmm. No school, nothing else, just straight training. And he's learning how to run a 40. So a lot of it is technique, and you have to learn how to do it. So, yeah, I'm going under 4.3.
Swain, with Byron Young, a guy that's going to test really, really well, and a guy that NFL teams are going to love just with the traits that he has, what questions does he need to answer? What does he need to show through this process this week in order to take that next step and potentially realize that potential of maybe even being a first-round pick?
I think the scouts are going to love him. I mean, you look at his story, a humble story where he was assistant manager at a dollar store, a Dollar General, seeing a flyer, and then going to junior college, and then boom, ended up at Tennessee. His story is remarkable. He's someone that's humble, that loves football. And Ramon, you know this, like scouts, they want you to be good and all that good stuff, but they want to know that you love football. Yep. Do you love football first and foremost? Because when you get the money, are you going to change and not put the same effort into football that you did when you're trying to get the money? And I don't think that Byron Young is going to change one bit because he loves football. He's explosive off the edge. He's humble. He is a student of the game. He's coachable, which is going to be valuable for him. But I think they're going to love him. All he has to do is go and test well and not bomb it, not show that he is stiff or can't run or something like that. But if he just goes out there and just performs well physically, I think he's going to be great in the interviewing process.
All right, Swain, in your college days, you have a Friday night. We'll say it's 7 p.m., so, reasonable hours since Ramon was out late. You're at home, doing devotions, getting ready for games the next day. Gus's sandwich or Sawyer's chicken tenders? Which one was the pick for you?
Gus.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, you actually got to think about it?
Well, it depends. It depends on what time of night it is. Like, if we're talking like, well, it's Gus's. It's Gus's.
Okay.
See?
Yeah, it's Gus's.
Yeah, it's Gus's.
I don't know what I was doing.
Sawyer's was what do you relate Sawyer's to these days? Like, is it Slim Chickens? It's not Cane's?
I mean, it's all those chicken finger places that have the special sauce and fries. Like, the thing about Sawyer's is that was the first place I went where Casey Clausen took me, Brett Smith, and Robert Meacham down, set us down, took us to lunch, and kind of explained
how to be successful at Tennessee and how to carry yourself and how to maximize your 4 years and do things the right way. So when you mentioned Sawyers, I just thought about that moment.
Yeah.
But it's Gus's, man. It's Gus's.
Okay,
Gus's
that's
is
real.
MVP.
See, he put thought into that. I respect it.
Those were the
respect
days
that.
when I was showing up to Neyland Stadium rocking a Jayson Swain jersey, too, back in those days.
I think that was Jason Witten's jersey.
He's not wrong, but, it adjusted well. Jayson Swain, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Swain, always appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, Swizzy.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Thanks, man.
Yes, sir. There's Jayson Swain with us on the Marks Pay and Real Estate Hotline this morning. Those were the best days when I had originally a Casey Clausen jersey that became a Gerard Mayo jersey.
Yep.
Had a number 11 Justin Hunter jersey that became a Bryce Brown jersey in 2009. I never had a number 76. I'm really sorry.
78.
78.
Oh,
That's a
and he
demerit.
got the number
Shave, can you demerit me real quick?
Oh, boy.
I need you to demerit me real quick. I knew your NFL number.
I was 73.
Yeah.
You know the
Top seven, bottom three.
I thought McAllister's, to me, that was my first time being exposed to it.
McAllister.
That's a chain.
I know, but
It's so
I
good,
had
though.
never
I don't care.
seen one.
I love that place.
But all I remember them being, they having the loaded baked potatoes and
Yes.
it being like very
Yes,
expensive
sir.
for a college kid.
And I don't care. I would eat.
What, McAllister?
I just see Ramon showing up to Knoxville McAllister's like
I
Michael
love
Scott
it.
at Sbarro in New York.
I love that
no
place.
This is my
idea,
favorite
Kayla.
Knoxville sandwich joint, and
This
it's a
is great.
like Ramon. This is a Subway. They
To
have
me,
these everywhere.
No,
All
but they
we
don't
had
have
was
enough
Subway.
of them.
No.
They don't have enough of them.
Thank
I
you,
don't have them
Kayla.
in my neighborhood. I've been craving one in my neighborhood. They still haven't gotten one. I'm really upset
What,
about it.
McAllister's?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got one in Gallatin.
We just got one
I don't
like 2
live in
years ago.
Gallatin.
That's a you problem.
No, it's not a you
The
problem.
funny thing was, Ramon,
I said they need to get one in my neighborhood.
We have the McAllister's next to the Whataburger in the G-Town.
Well, that would just not be good for me because I used to eat that late
For
night.
real.
I had Whataburger after the soccer game the other night. Wasn't a good idea, but I enjoyed
That
it.
sticks to your gut, too.
that was always where we went every Monday after practice at
Get
UT.
out.
We called it McAllister's Mondays because our shortest practice of the week was on Mondays because we'd have 8 a.m. Sunday morning practices, and then Mondays would be like an easy run.
Yeah.
And so you'd like get done with that, and we would literally like sprint to the McAllister's in TBA to get there before it closed. And so we would hurry through our like post practice recovery and like all our stretches and like get a protein shake. And coach got mad at us once. Like, y'all are going to McAllister's way too quick. Y'all need to stay here and recover.
I can hear Coach
There's
saying
too
that.
many
She was not happy.
choices.
I just used to think it was just expensive.
That's a good thing.
It was like expensive to me.
But it's so good.
It
And
is.
They don't have the bread bowls anymore. That's what I was
don't?
a little upset with not having the bread bowls. At least the one in Brentwood doesn't.
How do they get rid of the bread bowls?
I don't know, but I love those too.
When they give you the poofy bread on top after they claw it out. That's messed up, Kayla.
I know.
A yearly tradition unlike any other when it's NFL Combine season is allowing Ramon Foster to tell the story of the weirdest things that he had to talk about at the Combine.
Mm-hmm.
Check that box coming up
can't
next.
wait.
A good box, a 104.5 The Zone.
Everybody's talking about regenerative medicine now because people who have joint pain are getting real lasting relief without drugs or surgery. Hash Ramon Foster and QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting treatment where they use highly concentrated healing agents from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. And if you have ongoing joint pain from arthritis or injury, you need to call QC Kinetics. Don't assume that steroids and surgery are your only option. Times have changed and regenerative medicine can get you moving again with no downtime. Stop taking the pain meds and discover this remarkable alternative that pro athletes have been using for years. And thanks to QC Kinetics, this amazing treatment option is now available for folks like you and me who are sick and tired of joint pain. So don't put it off any longer. Spring is coming. You want to get all of the things out of life that you can enjoy. So call QC Kinetics now at 615-249-4024. Get a free consultation with a local medical professional. Again, the number is 615-249-4024.
104.5 The Zone is going to the Combine. Tune in as the Buck Rising Show, or as we like to call it, the Lucas Panciza Show. Broadcast live from Indianapolis starting tomorrow through March 3rd. Thanks to Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Dickens Turf and Landscaping, and John Roberts Nissan. For more info on our coverage from Indianapolis, visit 1045thezone.com.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here on 104.5 The Zone. Jayson Swain giving us good nostalgia from the University of Tennessee, but giving us some good insight, Ramon, on the Vol whose stock could rise the most through the Combine, and I believe that's Byron Young.
Yeah, I hope so, man, because he's good enough. I love his story, his journey, but the best thing that Swain said about him, even if it don't rise too much, Will, as far as his stock in this pre-draft era that we're in right now, I think he sticks around for a while because as Swain said, he's a football guy. I don't think not many people in this draft, or almost any draft, is willing to do the things that he did to get back on the football field. Like, you ever worked, at a dollar store? You ever just been out, go to a prep school just on a whim, go to a tryout and then end up at a Division I school? Like, none of that really matters if it don't work out, but here's a guy that actually made it work for him. So, again, even if he goes 4th, 5th round, I think the ability that he has and the mindset is going to show that he's a true football guy, and I hope it kind of shows.
I was really impressed with him when we met him at the Senior Bowl. I had never spoke with him, and we went up and asked some questions. Will and I did. He was so well composed, and just you could tell he was mature beyond his years just because he's been through so much of life in terms of facing adversity early on, not just as a football player, but as a man. And that's what you need sometimes in the NFL because it's not going to be an easy ride for everybody. It might be for some guys. Majority of the guys, it's not an easy ride. So even if further on in his career he's traded or he goes to another team and you've got to be able to work with that group, like those are the guys that last the longest who can adapt.
Yep, and that's what he's done. Going from, where was his first school, Will, that he had, Byron Young?
It was Georgia Military College is where he came from before he was at Tennessee, I believe.
And from my understanding, that's not an easy adjustment for somebody who was just on the street and working a 8 to 4, you know what I'm saying? But it also lends itself to the fact that he's going to be a worker. And that's what helps people survive in the NFL. How much do you love the game, first and foremost? What kind of talent do you have? Because you got to have that. And what kind of worker are you? That's one thing I've heard my coach kind of say. He's a better worker than he is player. And that's where it comes into play with guys that kind of separate themselves. Like, how good of a worker are you? Because when you get to that level, I think we've all now at least watched a glimpse of the XFL.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the idea that Will
Speak for yourself.
It was like, heck no, I ain't wasting my time.
I ain't going to be there.
I ain't going to be there. That's one spot of ratings is not going to get it.
That's right.
But what I'm saying is this, like the ability to separate yourself from one level to the next come down to those three things. And I think Byron Young has those characteristics to kind of get him on a team. And all he got to do is show up in camp and be that exact same worker that he was in college, and he'll be fine.
It feels like Byron Young may test the best of Tennessee's prospects.
How he may test the best?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like he's got a really difficult combination of size and speed that you don't often get at the edge rusher position.
Yeah.
And he's got the versatility to play further inside, but also play outside as just a pure edge. I do think he needs to showcase some quickness at the combine, and especially just the lateral movement and I think his 40 time is important for what he's able to do at an edge rusher because he's bigger than most edges. He's going to be a perfect fit in a 4-3 as a 4-3 defensive end. That guy's plug and play.
Yeah.
As a 3-4 outside linebacker, it feels like there are some adjustments he's going to have to make in his game in order to fit into a smaller, quicker outside linebacker role.
I actually like him as a 3-4 guy more than a 4-3.
I think he has the traits and the skills to be really, really good at that position.
Yeah.
He just hasn't done it at Tennessee.
He's been a straight rusher off the edge, right?
He's been that Leo position, which in Tim Banks' defense is more of a kind of a 4-2-5 base defense more so than it is a 3-4.
I love to see him. Whoever he is, he better be a Tasmanian devil. I know that much. That first year, he better set a tone on everybody that's coming towards him that you do not run to his side and he will rush off you. The guy that can separate himself or not separate himself to me is Darnell, though. You speak of 40 times. I wonder how they would categorize his 40 time on what he runs. If he's under 5'2", tackle.
5-2 slow.
If he's up a little bit, conversation might have to be had, depending on where he gets selected as far as playing guard tackle in the NFL.
Well, coming up next, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler has a report on one quarterback who plans to throw at the NFL Combine. And it feels like this is becoming less and less common for quarterbacks who might go in the top 10. There's one name that you might not expect who will be throwing at the NFL Combine. We'll discuss that coming up next as Hour 4 begins, fourth quarter of the show. On the other side, it's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Glad to be joined by our good friend Dean Glasscock of Arbor Art Tree and Shrub, your expert in trees and shrubs right here in Middle Tennessee. And Dean, you and your great team pretty much do it all. So what can you tell us, though, specifically about planting trees and shrubs with spring right around the corner?
Hey, happy Monday, everybody. 615-299-9999. That's the phone number to call if you want an insured certified arborist. We do everything, all things trees and shrubs. So keep that in mind as far as the growing season approaches us for all your maintenance needs and removals, whatever needs to be done. But first of all, quickly here, the winter freeze we had back in December has really devastated a lot of plants. There's a lot of planting going on, and that's something I want everybody out there to know, that we also plant trees and shrubs. We do it with a warranty as well. We'll get you set up and make sure it's done right, and we monitor that afterwards as well. So don't just let anybody come out and pull shrubs out of your ground and stick something back in there. Call us at 615-299-9999. We want to serve you if we can. We've been around 29 years. We do it right. We're honest. We have integrity. We're an accredited company, so we want to serve you. Give us a call. Have a great week.
And they are the experts, like you heard Dean say, Arbor Art Tree and Shrub. Check them out online now at arborart.net or just call them at 615-299-9999. That's Arbor Art Tree and Shrub.
It's 9:01. Good morning from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The Nashville Predators have announced that David Poile, the only general manager in franchise history, will retire from that position and also as president of hockey operations on June 30th. He will remain affiliated with the organization as an advisor. Meanwhile, Barry Trotz, the first and winningest coach in Predators history, will become the new general manager on July 1st. He will take the reins officially just days after the NHL draft, which will be hosted at Bridgestone Arena on June 28th and 29th. The Preds have traded forward Tanner Jeannot to the Tampa Bay Lightning for their first-round selection in 2025, second-round selection in 2024, and the third, fourth, and fifth-round selections in the upcoming draft this year. The Predators also get defenseman Cal Foote to the ice last night for the Preds. They defeated the Yotes 6-2. Roman Josi 2 goals and an assist. Women's hoops yesterday, the Lady Vols cruised to an 83-63 win over Kentucky to wrap up the regular season. Tennessee finished with a 13-3 SEC record, good for a 3 seed in the upcoming conference tournament. Speaking of conference tournament, Belmont secured the number 4 seed in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament after defeating Northern Iowa 83-75. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
And the show goes on into our number 4 of the Monday morning edition. A new week begins. Happy Monday, Music City and beyond. Alongside 11-year NFL veteran, Vol for Life, Big Savage.
Hey.
Ramon Foster. The capitalized J journalist who's, there's never a dot. It's always a capital J. If you put the dot on it, think about your life, come back tomorrow, and do better. Kayla Anderson. And Jonathan Schaefer, the best producer in the world, making the show happen as always.
The best producer in the world!
Of the world, Craig. The world. My name is Will Bowling. Former Florida quarterback. Top 10 pick, potentially. Anthony Richardson, according to Jeremy Fowler 10 minutes ago, will throw at the NFL Combine.
Good.
There you go.
Ramon's guy.
There you go.
I like him. I do. I'll be honest with you. I think he can end up being a good pro if put in the right situation. Now, where does he go? That's the real question. Does he go to Carolina?
Tennessee?
I mean, they got 4 offensive coordinators. You got to make some of it, right? I mean, let's be real about that. A lot of these players' development comes down to the coaches, though, too. Mm-hmm. Like, it really does. And the stability of the organization. Now, you got to ask yourself, if you did get Anthony Richardson here, come on, let's play the game, Wilson. You put me on the spot.
I'm
here.
down. All
Kayla,
right.
you in it? You ready to play the game?
I don't know. I just work here. I didn't know that was my job title.
Well, yeah, you're in it. I just want to make sure we got all participants over here, and I know we do.
Full participants.
If Anthony Richardson came to Tennessee, to Nashville, to the Titans, the real question we got to ask ourselves is this: do we trust the coaches inside of the building to develop a franchise quarterback moving forward now? Because we look at Vince, we look at Marcus, we look at Josh Jake Locker. These are guys. We look at Malik now. These are 4 guys just reeled off the top of my head, and excluding Mettenberger, he was a 4th rounder, right? If we're looking at these guys, do we trust this franchise to develop these guys into franchise quarterback? That may be the bigger question moving forward, because you've had top 10 opportunities to do this, and it hasn't been done. And under Vrabel, with a first-round guy that you can get in Anthony Richardson, that, to me, and this is the reason I like him coming. He's big. He got to be able to run in this AFC South. He has a big arm. And the way you can formulate this offense for him to, let's be real about it, take a little bit of the hits that's coming his way and be smart about it, he fits the Titans mold. but do you trust this team to develop him? And my answer, I don't know, because I don't know what these offensive coordinators are. I don't know because history has shown they hadn't done it in years past. I don't know because the guy you got was Ryan Tannehill and Arthur Smith is gone. And since then, we hadn't got a whole lot out of Ryan Tannehill other than the injuries surrounding him, and that's always the excuse there. Do I trust that 3 potential offensive coordinators can lend a hand to develop a guy? I somewhat want to believe in that. Mm-hmm. But Anthony Richardson could be a real possibility here.
Could be.
I think it's hard right now, though, to go that direction just because you already kind of did that with Malik Willis, and we still don't know what's to come of that. They still haven't said we're done with this project, right?
Right.
They're still maybe thinking they could make him mold into be that starter.
Yep.
And I get it. Like, Anthony Richardson's talent is greater, in my opinion, than Malik from what we've seen. Mm-hmm. But there's more to it than just that. Like, how quickly can he pick up that offense? How quickly, like, is he a quick learner? Like, there's so much more that goes into it, and you just don't have right now the knowledge of the staff, like you said, to be like, okay, we have enough pride in ourselves to do this and know that it's going to turn out right, because it's always a gamble.
It is.
It's always a gamble with quarterbacks like that are more of a project. Sometimes you end up winning, but right now with the situation that the Titans are in, I just don't think you could do that.
You're so right about that, though, Kayla. The quarterback position, especially a young one, that's probably the best turn. It's such a gamble. Like, it really, we just excluded you, Will. My bad, man. We was deep conversation right there.
I wasn't reacting to you.
Oh, okay.
Schaefer and I having our own
conversation.
conversation.
Out of it.
I'll say this. If Isaiah Wilson or Dylan Radins had taken ownership of one of your tackle positions, you would have the ability to take a quarterback at 11.
Jeez, set up.
Even if Dylan Radins, after you missed on Isaiah, if Dylan Radins was your left tackle or Nicholas Petit-Frere was your left tackle and Radins was your right tackle, then I think we're having a legitimate conversation about Anthony Richardson at number 11. I really do. You'd have the opportunity to have one more year of Ryan Tannehill and say, all right, let's do the Alex Smith thing.
Yeah.
Let's have a year of Tannehill. Let's get out after 23. Let's have Richardson sit behind. And in 2024, you got a left and right tackle who are young. You've got Derrick Henry on the way out, but you could still keep him for a year or two with Richardson at quarterback. You use day 2 and 3 picks on wide receivers. You've got Traylon Burks. You've got Chikakonkwo, and you've got a defense that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But, again, that is the cost, again, of not getting Isaiah Wilson right. And then when you had a chance to double down and get somebody else at that position after the fact, you held on to Taylor Lewan maybe for a year too long, and you weren't able to make the correct one at left tackle. That's what happened.
That's true. So some of our comments come in and say, why would you have Anthony Richardson and Malik on the same roster? Well, one wouldn't be there, and I think we know which one that is.
Yeah.
And the other comment was, having the ability to develop a quarterback. Seriously, he said they suck in so many areas to have to build from the bottom up. The holes that are missing on this team is always the biggest question this offseason. I don't know how we're going to get to that point to building this team up, but I trust the process of the collaboration between Vrabel and Rand and everybody else in the front office now.
Take a shot, collaboration.
Yeah,
I know.
Take a shot. But that's true. But I love to think that the Cincinnati approach would be the way, but Joe Burrow and Anthony Richardson are two different dudes. It's two different dudes. Yeah, I get that, and two different outlooks on what their college was. And we had somebody else said all that Anthony Richardson did was get Dan Mullen fired. You know, how much of that was Dan Mullen and how much of that was also just he was a bad coach.
The ironic part for fans in this area of the country is that the mid-first round quarterback all season was going to be the guy in Knoxville. Yeah. Until he had the ACL injury. I mean, your middle of the first, hey, let's trade back, get an extra pick to pick up a tackle at some point in the draft, and then also get our quarterback of the future option is now, by way of a knee injury, probably a second-round pick at best.
Yeah.
But he's got a very real possibility of being a second-round pick, and you could make the argument, orange tinted glasses or not, that the Titans could take a left tackle in the first and take Hendon Hooker in the second. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
So where are we at on weapons for Traylon? Getting him more weapons,
What did Mike Giannitti say with us last week? Kayla, you missed this part. Last week we had Mike Giannitti, a spot track, who said, this is not the year for the Titans to add weapons. This is the year for the Titans to add foundational pieces up front. Next offseason is when the Titans go buy some weapons and go shopping a bit for skill players.
Another portion of that, too, is where's Dobbs in this equation, too? I know we've all fallen in love with his last 2 games and what he was capable of doing.
100%.
There's options at the quarterback position not to be wasted on the 11th overall pick, I guess is what the summary could be.
And the thing is, in a copycat league, I think somebody is going to draft Hendon Hooker to be their Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody is going to take that guy to come in for a year, figure out what he is, get comfortable, get healthy, and bring in veteran experience and just be a winner. I mean, that was what we heard about Jalen Hurts was this guy off the field gets it.
Yeah.
He's got some things to figure out, but he's athletic, and mentally he has the mindset and the mentality of a franchise quarterback. When you talk to Hendon Hooker, whether it's on the record or off the record, and just meeting that guy and spending time around him, he has the mindset and the mentality of a franchise quarterback.
Speaking of him, real quick, Jordan Schultz of the Score actually just reported, just because we're saying who's throwing, who's not. He's not going to throw, but right now, has been one of the top-rated quarterbacks in the draft. He is ahead of schedule still. So the recovery off the ACL still ahead of schedule. So he's not going to throw.
Yeah.
But he's going to be there. More exposure.
More exposure for him, for sure.
And again, that guy's going to interview really, really well.
Exactly.
Las Vegas Raiders, one of the teams that's reportedly interested in him, who has talked to him a lot. The question you got to ask about Hendon is, are you willing to have a 25-year-old quarterback be a backup at all?
Mm-hmm.
Like a guy of that age, are you willing to let that guy sit and then say, at the earliest, you're making your debut as a full-time starter in this league at 26 years old? That's challenging.
You also, I still say this, save some money on a guy because you look at his clock is already started as far as being a pro, too.
100%. You probably never have to pay that mega deal unless he becomes, MVP level quarterback.
So the question I have then, too, is what we've seen as of late from Brady, from Eli didn't play that long, from Peyton, like these guys playing close to 40, Drew Brees. Is
Rodgers.
that era done? Rodgers? Is that era done then? Because I look at 26 and I still say, man, you got 12, 13 years still.
As little as these guys can be hit now?
Yeah.
I don't think it's done at all.
And just like everything in terms of medical is that much more advanced.
And the way they train now.
And the way you train and take care of your body.
I think quarterbacks playing at 40 will be the new normal for guys who
I
are
do
elite.
too.
I really do. You can't hit them.
And that's where I kind of was with Tannehill. Tannehill's only 33? He's still got years left.
He's got 5-6 years left in this league
so
if he wants to.
Our issue here with him is you just tired of saying the same thing over and over then.
Well,
is that what it is?
Trent Dilfer, the former Lipscomb Academy coach here, obviously Super Bowl champ and now UAB head coach, kind of went viral a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
making a statement saying, I don't respect Tom Brady playing as late as he did because anybody could play that late in today's NFL who retired in their early to mid-30s 10 years ago. Said it's a different league now. These guys are coddled, and they are given the ability to make mistakes over the middle of the field, which Brady's gone on the record about.
He did say that.
And stand in the pocket, get hit, and it's the defense's prerogative to not hit them too hard.
You got to roll them to the ground instead of hit them to the ground.
Now, the way he said it's a little bit of a hot take. The way he said it of like, I don't really respect the end of his, that I'm paraphrasing, but I think it's the new normal.
But you say that, but then you got Tannehill to take bad hits, and you also had Jalen Hurts to take bad hits too, and they didn't get those passes. So become a guy.
Coming up, Ben Arthur,
Yeah.
Covering the AFC South for Fox Sports. We get his thoughts on the Titans' moves last week and what the priority is now moving into the draft, because the conversation we'll continue to have is that left tackle's a big need you have to address. But is that just a total slam dunk for the Titans going into the combine this week? What other options interest Ben Arthur? We'll get his thoughts coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Hour 4, rolling on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 1045. I said that twice. 1045 The Zone.
That is a demerit.
Monday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Alongside Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. To the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline we go, talking Titans and AFC South with our friend Ben Arthur covering the AFC South for Fox Sports. Good morning, Ben. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
Morning, Ben.
Good morning, Ben.
We're good, and there is lots to discuss from the Titans' busy week last week and all of the cap casualties and cuts. What was your reaction to the moves the new regime in Tennessee made here last week?
Yeah, I think the moves were, as everyone kind of expected, right? We knew that there were some expensive, some bad contracts that the Titans had on their books, and we all knew what their cap situation was prior to the moves. If I remember correctly, it was, $24 million over the cap, and the Titans are obviously a team that really needs to improve for 2023 and beyond, and the guys they moved on from, Taylor Lewan, Robert Woods, Zach Cunningham, Randy Bullock were some of the guys that, many believed were kind of the first steps, right? I mean, I don't think we're not really sure at this point whether it's going to be more of a rebuild or a retool for the Titans, but I think the moves that Rand Carthon has made so far has kind of been what's been expected. And so I think now what we're looking at, okay, are they going to cut Bud Dupree, or are they going to extend him, kind of thinking about the impact that he has around other guys on the front, or, Ryan Tannehill, what's the decision going to be there? And then obviously you think about needing to extend Jeff Simmons. So I think so far, it hasn't kind of shocked me. I think these are the moves that the Titans absolutely needed to make to get under the cap and to have the financial flexibility they need to improve the team.
It's so interesting looking at the different priorities for AFC South teams heading into the Combine this week. The Colts and Texans and their pursuit of quarterbacks. Jacksonville building around Trevor Lawrence. But for the Titans at 11, is left tackle just the slam dunk easy pick? Or what other options interest you? Maybe some things that could surprise us for Rand Carthon and the Titans.
Yeah, I think the Titans are kind of the wild card of the AFC South in terms of what they may do. I think if they stay put, like you said, I think left tackle is probably the top option. But hey, I wouldn't be so surprised if the Titans, tried to move up maybe a few spots for a quarterback. We don't know what Ryan Tannehill's future is. Malik Willis, he may not be the guy, right? He struggled a lot as a rookie, just wasn't ready to be an NFL quarterback, and really having to think about the long-term future for the franchise at that position. So seeing if they can maybe get a Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, if you do extend Tannehill, maybe have one of those guys play behind Tannehill for a year, in terms of learning, or even, hey, I wouldn't be so surprised if the Titans looked at getting a receiver, right? They need Traylon Burks is probably their number one receiver, or he should be for 2023 and beyond. Mike Vrabel has talked about needing more speed around him. They need more talent around him. So I think if I had to kind of rank where I think the Titans could go, I think number one would probably be left tackle. Number two, I would say try to move up for a quarterback, or number three, I think would be a wide receiver. So it's kind of unclear. Like you said, I think it's pretty clear the Texans and the Colts are doing quarterback. The Jags could do like cornerback or edge, depending on what they do, or even tight end, depending on what they do in free agency. But the Titans are kind of the wild card in the AFC South at the top of the draft.
It seems like all Nashville teams, for the most part, are somewhat in a transition between the Preds, the Titans trying to figure out what's next for them, too. In that transition of change, where are you at with, either extending Derek or just, maybe trying to find value on Derek? I think those are conversations that at least I know I've had in a sense.
Yeah, I think it really kind of goes back to how Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel envision this team for 2023, right? Is this going to be a retool, or is this going to be a rebuild? I think what I know about kind of Mike Vrabel and kind of how he coaches and how he views the game. I mean, he probably wants to win now, right? And I think this is my opinion. I believe that he thinks, you know, with kind of having Ryan Tannehill still as their quarterback, keeping Derrick Henry, and then just kind of rebuilding that offense around those guys, I think he believes that they can kind of be back in the mix. And so I think if that is the case, you look at, you know, potentially extending Derrick to kind of lower that cap hit, and you know, obviously coming off of the Jones fracture last season, you know, he looks like he's still one of the, you know, top 3 running back, arguably top running back in the NFL. If it wasn't for kind of the issues they had up front on the O-line, he could have even had even more yards. And I off the top of my head, I think it was 1,500 rushing yards or so, or 1,400. So I personally, I think the Titans want to keep Derrick. I know Vrabel probably wants to keep him, and the way Rand Carthon publicly has talked about Derrick, I think the kind of the goal is to kind of maintain that run first approach, building around Derrick, but obviously just needing to have more talent at the receiver spots and building up that O-line around him.
Ben, through all of this, why is that R word such a bad word? With, you know, this year, rebuild. You know, it's you want to say retool, and essentially you're almost saying the exact same thing when you look at how this team has kind of got a few missing holes on it. Not just, you know, just role players. Like, there's starters that are up for question. Why is the rebuild word such a bad word, though?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think rebuild is kind of associated with losing, right? Like when you look at rebuild, it's usually teams with, you know, a lot of cap space and, you know, a lot of draft capital, and you're thinking, you know, this may be a down year, or the next 2 seasons may kind of be down years, but by that end of year 2, end of year 3 of that timeline, you expect to kind of be back in contention. And I think that's why the rebuild connotation is kind of negative. And you obviously look at where the Titans have been prior to last season. I mean, they were winning, you know, at least 10 games a year, you know, having a winning resume since 2016, and kind of the thought of going back to what it was in, you know, 2015 or earlier, having to lose games with the hope that, you know, you'll have a top pick who's going to change the franchise. And, you know, I don't think people – I think that's kind of where the roots of kind of the negative connotation come from. But I do think, obviously, there's some overlap between what retool and rebuild means. I think in the Titans case, I think retool in terms of that means kind of keeping some of those core guys, right, like KB and extending Jeff and Tannehill and Derrick Henry, but really maybe looking at rebuilding kind of the rest of other parts of the team, like the offense and whatnot. So there is some overlap, but I think when people say rebuild, they think, oh, we're about to lose, 10, 11, 12 plus games in the upcoming season for the hopes of maybe turning things around long term.
When you look at the defensive side of the ball, Ben, David Long Jr., free agent, how do you think they're going to pay to keep him? And because of the injury history, specifically last year, do they even attempt to do that? Because you can't argue he is a special player, and he's fit really well here.
Yeah, David Long is one of the interesting ones, and I think they pushed to keep him. I mean, he in many ways he was kind of like the Energizer Bunny, like kind of the passion. I remember actually writing a story, I think maybe like a year or so ago, about kind of how KB had told me, like he was like that David Long was like the passionate leader of the defense. He may not have been the best player, like that would go to KB or Big Jeff, but David Long is kind of like the emotional leader of the defense, and the intensity he plays with. I think the defense really feeds off of that. As you mentioned, the injury thing is kind of a concern, and after kind of the last 2 years of Titans football, when you don't have your key guys playing, that's an issue. But I think you kind of look at the value that guys add to your team, and I think he's kind of one of those indispensable guys that you should do whatever it takes to bring back, just because of how he's viewed in that locker room. And then when he does play, I mean, before he got hurt last season, he was playing at a Pro Bowl level.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can just kind of figure out maybe the what is it, kind of the health part of it, whether it's kind of changing the way he works out or whatever it is. I'm obviously not an expert in that department, but I think if you can keep him, I think that's a net positive for Tennessee.
As for Jeffrey Simmons, when do you feel like, if there is a deal to be done there, do you just kind of figure that out now and don't walk it too far down the road?
Yeah, I think that should be, if not the top priority, that's like the second priority. I mean, first of all, with that cap hit that Jeff is going to be playing on in 2023, that $10.7 million with that fifth-year option, it's in the best interest of Rand Carthon to extend him so that you can lower that cap hit and giving you even additional cap space to improve the team. I think Jeff's value is only going to go up, and we know how he's kind of a foundational piece of that defense. He's probably the outside KB. He's the face of that defense, and I think Rand Carthon being a new general manager, kind of setting the tone that, like, look, we're going to pay our best draft picks what they deserve. I think if he can do that in his first offseason, I think that really sets a good tone moving forward. Obviously, the Titans lost their other franchise cornerstone in that 2019 draft class in A.J. Brown. And so I think if Rand Carthon can prioritize getting Jeffrey Simmons done, I think that's only in the best interest of the team, and also the cap situation, as I said, giving them more kind of space to improve the team.
Ben Arthur, Fox Sports, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ben, I know Jacksonville goes ahead and re-signs Roy Robertson-Harris, and they're in a tricky cap situation as well. I know he was thought by many to be one of the options to be a cap casualty. If he isn't, who is for that team?
Yeah, there aren't the Jags situation is a really tough one because they don't really have a lot of obvious cut candidates. Roy Robertson-Harris was one of the people who some thought could be cut, and they're really going to have to do a lot of restructures, a lot of extensions, and then Calvin Ridley's. When he gets reinstated, his fifth-year option is going to count in full against the cap, and that's going to be like $11 million, and they're already more than $12 million over the cap right now. So, again, I think it's going to be restructures. I think it's going to be extensions, and then I think, honestly, really the only obvious cut candidate to me is Shaquille Griffin, 28-year-old cornerback, starter for them, who missed double-digit games last season. If they cut him, they can save $13 million against the cap. But apart from Shaquille Griffin, I don't really know else who they would cut. Because some of the other guys with high cap numbers like Rayshon Jenkins and Jamal Agnew, I mean, you have to keep those guys, right? I mean, Jamal Agnew is arguably the best returner in the NFL. Rayshon Jenkins is one of the better safeties in the league. So I think it's a very tough situation for them. I think it's going to have to come down to getting creative with contracts and whatnot, because there aren't a lot of guys that they can cut.
Ben, with news this morning that the number one overall pick is likely to be traded by the Chicago Bears, do you think Chris Ballard in Indianapolis made the first call this morning to Chicago?
Yeah, I think Chris Ballard is definitely, one of the folks who's been pressing the Bears about the availability of that top pick. We all know that they need a quarterback. Chris Ballard has said on the record how he would, quote, do whatever it takes if there was a quarterback that Indianapolis loved enough to kind of move up and to get that guy. And I think, from what I've read and from what I've seen and heard, it seems like the evaluation of like the top 3 or top 4 even at the quarterback position, it's kind of all over the place. So if you're the Colts, you don't know if the guy you love is still going to be there at 4. And so I think it's in their best interest to try and move up and get their guy and end this veteran quarterback carousel that they've been on since Andrew Luck retired. I know for a fact that the Colts are going to do everything they can to get the number 1 pick.
Ben Arthur, our guest, covering the AFC South for Fox Sports. Always enjoy catching up with him here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ben, thanks as always, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Ben.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. Got to catch up on everything else going on in the AFC South because I don't think there is a division with more interesting storylines in this NFL draft than this one.
Oh, my God.
I don't think it's close.
It's not.
And the Jags now getting all this love. I think I saw like the best teams to come out of the postseason with chances to win the Super Bowl, like they're 6th. Like they're just talk about Indy always getting love, right?
Goodness.
Now it's like, now it's the Jags, baby.
Skip right over you, man. That's a.
It's interesting. You think about a team that has a rookie quarterback contract, and you think about them like you do Cincinnati, right? They got all this space.
Sure.
They got stuff to work with. Jacksonville spent a lot of money last offseason. A lot of money. And it worked. I think they would do it again. They wouldn't change a lot of what they spent, but it does give them now the reality of you're going to have to pay Trevor sooner rather than later.
Way sooner.
And you can't kick a lot of cans far down the road because you're going to need that extra cap space for when Trevor Lawrence's hit goes up. Now, granted, as a number 1 overall pick, it's already going to be pretty high as he goes into his 4th and 5th years.
Yeah.
So it's not a massive increase, but you're probably going to have to double his cap number eventually.
Eventually, they're going to have to. I look at his situation and I wonder, though, will they win more after he signed that second contract? Because they don't have a chance right now. They burned a year.
Well, and let me add this, because, of course, the narrative from this past season is try to win on that rookie deal with the quarterback. That's true. But you can pay a quarterback as long as he's a franchise quarterback and compete for a Super Bowl. That's exactly my point.
Brady did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You get a quarterback that then raises the level of lesser players around him.
That's why Cincinnati will still be able to compete even when Burrow's on a second deal.
I agree.
And when T. Higgins is playing back in his home state.
I was going to say, is that gone?
Bring him here.
Look at that.
I'd take T. Higgins.
You going to pay T. Higgins?
Yeah.
You
2024?
Individually will pay T. Higgins.
I've got $5.
Then is Traylon your 1 and then T's your 2 then? Because you're just saying you don't think Traylon's a 1.
I think T. Higgins is your 1 at that point.
Ooh.
Really?
I mean, he's had 1,000 yards in this league before.
Mm.
This is true.
I think T. Higgins and Traylon. I think Traylon is T. Higgins is Traylon's ceiling. It's a pretty good ceiling, by the way.
That's really before they got Jamar.
But T turned
different.
into an alpha. He turned into him when Jamar got on campus.
So when are you paying a receiver while you still have Derrick Henry under contract?
This time next year when Derrick's probably not under contract.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Hopefully that's the case. But that's the question that's got to be asked.
It's exact. I'm in complete agreement with Mike Giannitti on last week's show.
Yeah.
Who said next offseason is when you start adding the fun weapons. Start doing the fun stuff.
You got to wait. You got to wait.
The GM isn't here anymore, though, too, Shafe.
So what?
Well, yeah, the math is still the math on paying a running back and paying a couple wide receivers. Coming up next.
It is the philosophy of this organization not to pay a receiver.
That is.
You're hoping
Spot
that
it.
changed.
Can you see
Or
it,
that
Ramon?
changes.
I'm trying to spot
I looked
it,
under
but
my coffee for the lie, and I couldn't find it.
I just finished my coffin. It's not in there either.
Well, they
nice
did
having an
draft him. They
Oak Ridge
just
guy.
gave him away.
My family. That's fair.
Peeling the Band-Aid off again, Kayla.
I grew up.
The Band-Aid keeps falling off.
Everybody hurt.
I grew up on the other end of the Oak Ridge machine in East Tennessee, but I would allow him to come here.
Yeah, he's got the.
I'm glad you would allow him as if
Yeah,
he
you're
needed
right.
your
So
permission.
nice of you.
If my dad's
Appreciate
listening,
you.
Clinton Dragons all the way.
Our benevolent dictator that we have
The
on the
Clinton
show.
Dragons are going to the Super Bowl. Coming up next, Lucas Panzica joins us. Timon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for Secure Lawn. And when I say that name, it's one of those companies, okay, that if you know, then you know because they are that good. They've been around for 20 years here in Tennessee, and lawns is what they do, and they are good at it. And if you're like me, one of those types that just walks around, look at weeds popping up, and you care about your grass, and your spouse and friends tell you that, hey, you got to find something better to do. Well, guess what? You want to be the envy of your neighbors the same that I am, okay? And that's why you need to reach out to Secure Lawns. They have been building up a solid reputation in Middle Tennessee with homeowners for 20 years, offering neighborly advice and legendary service. Family owned and operated and are local. They don't make you sign any kind of contracts. In fact, if you have ever been unhappy with their service from them, they will do everything they can to make it right. And if you're still unhappy, they will give you your money back on your last treatment. And this is unheard of customer service. Secure Lawn offers free service calls, and if you need something in between treatments, they'll come back for that too. Everything that Secure Lawn uses is pet, kid, and environmentally friendly, so you don't have to worry about dangerous chemicals hurting your family. They protect all types of grass and service residential, commercial, and even athletic fields. So get a head start on your yard and call Secure Lawn. 615-893-8455 or go to securelawn.com and be sure to tell them that Ramon sent you.
Andrade. Inside for Hack. It's a misplaced pass, and here's Hani Mukhtar. Off his line is Panciza, the goalkeeper. Mukhtar will choose to keep it at his feet. Cuts inside centrally. Top of the box, Hani Mukhtar. Step over, lays it off. Left side. Scheffelberg!
It doesn't get better than that. The first game in the history of 104.5 The Zone's coverage of Nashville Soccer Club. There he was on the call. And in the studio with us, Lucas Panciza, joining us for one final segment of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, to the sweet sounds of the band Camino underneath that as well. Good morning, Lucas.
What's up, guys?
Hey. What's up?
Happy Monday.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Congrats,
first and
man.
foremost.
Thank you. Congrats to you, too. Congrats to everybody.
Thank you.
Holy.
Was that fun?
Oh, my goodness. That was amazing. The crowd, that was one of the best environments I've ever seen at Geodis Park.
Wow.
The man in black uniforms, the whole deal, the performance. Electric, honestly. Couldn't have asked for a better start to the season, both from the booth and from the field for Nashville SC.
With authority.
Everybody doing the Schaffelberg shuffle in Geodis
All
Park.
right, everybody,
on Saturday.
1, 2, 3.
Hey,
Coolest
shout out
thing.
to Jaleel, too, man. Jaleel
Yeah, Jaleel
Anibaba
Anibaba.
just absolutely
Yeah.
crushed his first game, and he's done this before, so I wasn't surprised. But I can't wait for our audience to get to know Jaleel. Great dude, great broadcaster, and this relationship's going to be really fun this year.
Really cool to me. You mentioned Hani Mukhtar, MVP of Major League Soccer in 2022. The buzz and the roar in that stadium when the ball was just at his feet.
Yeah.
We were talking to Shafe about this earlier. It felt like the fan base and the awareness of what Nashville SC has, the fans took a step. And the environment was next level that I've never seen before in that place.
Yeah, the tifo of Hani with the man in black, that was amazing. I love the approach, too. It was a precautionary approach to not start Hani Mukhtar for this game, but I did love the sort of injection of energy that gave the game in the second half when he came on, because the energy of that crowd, because you'd settled into the second half, and Will, usually when a soccer game hits a lull, it's the first 10, 15 minutes of the second half.
Always.
Right? Especially when a team has a lead and Nashville's okay to let City kind of have some possession. And then Hani comes on, and then the decibels just shot right back up. And the energy was just completely restored. And then, of course, just minutes later, Hani's assisting the second goal. And from there, Nashville's going to walk out of there with 3 points. So he's one of the biggest stars in Music City right now. I mean, truly. One of the I maintained all last year that Hani Mukhtar is more important to his team than any other individual on any pro sports team in Tennessee. Looking at the stats going into last Saturday, Hani Mukhtar had either assisted or scored 53% of Nashville's goals as an MLS club.
Like, that's crazy.
Okay, that's
65% of the goals last year belonged to Hani Mukhtar.
Which is the highest mark in MLS by
Look
a
at
long,
Derrick Henry's
wide
touchdown
margin.
totals for the Titans.
We can argue. We talk about Derrick Henry.
Roman
we talk
Yossi.
about John Morant, but I think Nashville's ceiling is higher with Hani than any of those other team ceilings with their best player. I mean, truly, what he does for this team and what he did for that crowd on Saturday, it was electric.
Love it. Well, first of 34 games done.
Let's go.
Looking forward to a fun season, man.
Yeah, can't wait to hear you with the Red Bulls game on Saturday. Can't wait to get these folks out to a game. Ramon, Kayla. I know Schaefer, is out there almost every single weekend. But Geodis Park is going to be fun this season. Couldn't have asked for a better start to the year. And this relationship with 104.5 The Zone, I know you and I are pumped. Jaleel's excited. And, man, ready to rock and roll. Gary Smith, first coach's show on Wednesday.
That's right.
Oh, exciting.
NSC Backstage. You can listen to us Wednesday night at 8 o'clock this week.
There you
Looking
go.
forward to that. Looking forward to the Lucas Panciza show with Buck Rising coming up next.
Don't miss it.
And looking forward to words of wisdom from Ramon Foster to send us home.
Please remember, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.